I listen to a lot of podcasts where it's just like, sorry, you hear? Yep. They were about like meaningful shit and trip stories and things like that, which I've always like enjoyed, but like they never really got into like changing people's lives. Like I listened to one today that was just this dude that wrote a book on psychedelics and like self-described scientist and psychonaut and like said he's tripped like over 150 times. So did the guy running the podcast, but they went right into like the details of like the science of it. And I'm like, I'm fucking dumb and lowbrow for the most part. I mean, I got a shit tattoo and on my leg. So it's like I didn't like that part as much. And like when I would have like any sort of like existential dread, which I think creeps up on all of us at some point, some heavier than others when you're all ADD and shit. And it was like I always wanted to know what these people were before and what they were after. So that's kind of like the dawn of it was like, people who do things that give them meaning beyond this world, but they get meaning from it. And then if people understand those stories, then they can kind of pull something from it. Because like this dude here, he died once. So he ate an entire box of some sort of drug that he shouldn't have and died for 5 minutes and had an NDE. And he just happens to be a good friend of mine. So it worked out that we did this. And just shit like that. Like, but I can't replicate that. I mean, I could. I'd be a dumbass. I mean, you're old enough to know flatliners. I was talking about that. Like they like kill each other and come back. But yeah, so it's like for the things that we can't do, or can't experience, and sometimes it's just kind of cool to share it with people so they know what's up. So
absolutely.
Because I even like a lot of people, it's like DMT and shit. Like when I was younger, I did LSD and mushrooms and a bunch of shit, but I don't know if I could do it now. I'd probably just freak the fuck out. But I've done like a float tank and like sensory deprivation shit. Like I want to do like what's that, holotropic breathing? Where you like basically have a trip from just breathing weird. So it's like I'll book something with them and then talk about that shit. So that's kind of the gist of it. So for you guys, it's like I think that the paranormal and stuff is can be comforting, because if you believe that that's a fucking person, that dead person like in front of you, and they're dead, then you're like, I guess there's something like that's a cool thing that's to see. So like that's kind of like where all this spawned from. So like but that's why. And like I saw you guys online, and then I saw you were doing the sanatorium in town. It just kind of happened to be that way. So it was like that was a kind of a cool coincidence to come out and meet you guys. So it
was an awesome experience too, by the way.
Yeah,
awesome.
We'll be back out there in about a month, freezing our ass off. It's gonna be cold.
Yeah, you know what? Like, I think I already told Joel, I was like, I kind of want to do it again, because I think I mentioned to you guys that there was a lot of like, it felt like a tour at first, because it's just fucking cool to see like before anything else. Like, it's just such a cool place, and like especially when you go to the room with all their stuff in it, it's just like, everybody turns into a photographer. So
it's crazy. Yeah, it's really room. Walking, in a place that is just forgotten. I mean, all of their stuff is there. Like the first time we went there, that's all we did for the first half. We just, like you said, walk around and take pictures and like go through stuff.
Yeah, it was just overwhelming. And then like we were old, and like I said, your some of your peeps made fun of us for trying to leave. It was funny. Like it was a good time.
A lot of these people that come to these events are cutthroat. They're ruthless.
But go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's like reading from a textbook about a tuberculosis hospital. I mean, it's one thing, but going to a tuberculosis hospital, walking the halls that the patients lived in, hearing the stories firsthand, it's way different than reading it from a textbook. Just getting that in-depth experience.
Yeah, and I it's kind of weird because we did that tour where they obviously purposely didn't talk about the history, and they didn't give us. They made jokes about what the spirits and stuff would be. But I think it would be interesting to go back at some point and actually hear that history too, because we were old and we didn't get to experience it as much. But I don't know. It was a cool place, and it was a good time. So yeah, maybe we'll end up going back out when you guys go. And
I think it's the third week in November we're back out there. They're not posted or anything yet, but it's that week, like the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Nice. Okay.
No, that's down to travel too. We're going to a prison in New York the week before that might not be open for much longer.
Yeah,
that paranormal stuff
gonna get closed down.
Place is massive though.
It's up by New York City.
Yeah, well,
I'm not able to do that one.
Yeah, we're We're Indianapolis, so like that was like a 2-hour drive to get to the sanatorium, but it wasn't too bad.
Yeah,
it was cool. It was like this fucking dude fell asleep on the way back and left me just.
I did not mean for that to happen.
Yeah. So you might felt weird because you came in back. We were just shooting the shit.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
We're best friends. You didn't know. We're talking about all and all that shit.
No, I'm glad you got it.
And I'm sorry I didn't get to talk to Dylan much while we're there. Like I kind of I felt like some sort of ambush journalist, like going up to Steve like, you don't remember me? I emailed you, asshole. I didn't do that, but I was just like, I didn't care if you guys did it or not. We were going to go anyway. It was a fun time, so I'm glad that you get to talk to you about it anyway.
Absolutely.
Glad you guys enjoyed it.
And and as far as like your show goes, like I enjoy it too because it feels like the YouTube channel Haunted Nights is I feel like it's also very I don't know, like you guys don't go on there like and try and scare the shit out of people or something. Like I like that you just kind of go in and do the thing. Because I've watched a bunch of them before, but like you don't go in and go, everybody, it's gonna be the creepiest night. What's this over here? You just go in and just do the thing, and I really appreciate that when I was watching it. Like it's a lot less BS and like pageantry. So I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I'm not.
No, yeah, definitely. When we get to a spot, it's funny. Every time we get there, we're like, hope it's haunted. You know what I mean? It's just like, I hope we get something because if not. Oh, well. Like,
sometimes we go to spots, we'll be like 20 hours from home and nothing happens. We have to sit there and film for like 12, 15 hours, like praying that something's going to happen to make an hour-long video. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're over there like blowing on a cat ball, trying to get it to roll a little bit.
Like hope a big truck drives by or something, shakes something.
Yeah. So I guess like, it's two of you. This is new for us. Like this is episode number 6 or 7. So, but so questions are for both of you. So we'll just kind of go one at a time. And if your answer's not good, we'll sound a buzzer, and then you'll stop talking, and then we'll just go to Dylan. So that's how it'll go. Yeah. I'm assuming Steve's gonna go bad, so we'll have to go to Dylan for most of it. No, but like I guess like how did you guys even get into like paranormal stuff to begin with? I know I read your bios because you have a website, but like I don't know. I guess I'm curious like where that started.
Yeah, so for me at least, I was actually super young. I was about 5 years old, and I was sleeping down at my grandparents' house. They were both still alive at the time, and I was sleeping in the bedroom. My grandmother and my sister were sleeping in the living room on the couch, and I woke up in the middle of the night because I felt something poking me. And I'm 5 years old, so I just kind of wake up and rub my eyes, and I don't know what time it is. I'm like, oh, maybe it's just time to get up in the morning. I have no idea. And I looked at the end of the bed, and there was an older woman, a little bit heavier, sitting off the side of the bed with her legs off to the side. She had a shawl on and like a hat with a veil in front of it. And she was poking me in the leg with a cane. And it took me about 5 seconds to realize, that's not my grandma. My grandma doesn't have a cane. 2, she's very tiny. She's like a very petite lady. This didn't look like her at all. And I didn't recognize this woman. So I panicked. I freaked out. I was 5 years old. I just kind of threw the covers over my head, and I would peek out like periodically throughout the night, and she wasn't there anymore. But I never fell back asleep. Couldn't go back to sleep. My grandmother comes in early the next morning, says, why are you already awake? And I told her what happened. She said, you had a bad dream. It was a nightmare. Don't worry about it. But I was positive that it wasn't. I mean, when she was sitting there, I could see the indent in the bed. I know that woman was there. And it stuck with me. It messed me up for a while. Like I wouldn't do sleepovers. I wouldn't sleep at my grandma's house again. I wouldn't sleep at my friend's house. I was just always afraid that if I was somewhere other than my home, I was going to see this woman. About 10 years goes by, and I'm back at my grandma's house. I'd been there a bunch before then, but we were down there for Christmas, and she had put out an old family photo that I had never seen. And I stopped and I said, "Who's that?" And she said, "Oh, that's your great grandmother, my mother. She passed away right before you were born." And I said, "That's the woman that was sitting on my bed when I was 5 years old." In the picture, she actually has the hat on with the veil.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I never met this woman. And my grandma kind of smirks and looks at me and goes, "Well, you were sleeping on her bed frame that night, so it makes sense." You know what I mean? And it's like, it blew my mind. And then all the shows came out, and I was like, wait, people go and do this. Like people go and look for this and try to find answers. And so I started my first group in New York here when I was 16. I started a nonprofit here in upstate New York.
When you were younger, did you dismiss that? Did you ever tell people about it, or did it just like come up later?
I told my parents, like I told my mom and dad and everybody about it. I didn't really talk to my friends as much about it, but I wouldn't sleep over at people's houses, and they never knew why. Like I would try to do it, and it would be, having a great time all night, whatever. And then right when it was time to go to bed and the lights went out, I would panic. I would freak out. Even at my grandma's house, I was like, I'm going to see this lady again. And they always just kind of let it go, blew it off, saying I had a bad dream, until I was like, no, that's the lady.
So that was your first encounter, and that sparked all your interest.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh man,
That's wild.
I am.
It was crazy. It was crazy. I mean, I still get like goosebumps because I go down there all the time. I'm actually going there for dinner tomorrow night, and I always get goosebumps because the bedroom's still there. The bed's still in the exact same spot. You know, I mean, they've lived there for 70 years. They haven't really changed much, and so every time I go over there, I always go and like stare at that room, and I'm like, that's where everything started. That one little room in my grandma's house.
Holy shit! Oh, well, Dylan, how did it start for you then?
So, I mean, I grew up watching all the TV shows, Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters, all that stuff. And I'm a huge history nerd. So, I mean, it's just kind of like a perfect match. I actually went to one of his events when I was 12 at a house like 15 minutes from here. It's like an old historical house that we went to like on a middle school field trip or something like that. So I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to do a ghost hunt there because I've already been there. I kind of know the history. I want to see how they kind of blend together. And from the first investigation, I was hooked. So I just kind of kept showing up. And he's like, yo, if you want to like come help us run these events that, help outside of town, I'm like, yeah, sounds cool. And I've been doing it ever since.
It said in your bio, because I told you I read them, that you had like just an interest in life after death or something, or as when you were younger. Was that just from watching those, or was it something before that?
Mainly from just watching the shows. I mean, I grew up in haunted houses. My parents aren't really religious, right? They're just kind of like believe whatever you want to believe. They're kind of my mom's a little more spiritual. She kind of gets into all the sage and whatnot, but we didn't really talk about life after death a ton. So I would just kind of form my own opinions, I guess. And it was very, very scary to me growing up. So I don't know, just I wanted to get more answers, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, so with your mom being spiritual, what was she into? Just like, did she have a wall full of Ouija boards like you guys have behind you, or like what did she do?
She hates Ouija boards. It's more recently she's gotten wicked heavy into it, but she believes in like the saging, protecting yourself, carrying all the stones and whatnot. She would always tell me that she had kind of like she didn't call it like psychic abilities, but she said she was sensitive. Like our whole family is sensitive.
Yeah.
I guess she had a connection with one of my grandmother's friends who passed away. So she'd always kind of tell me like, we have people that follow us, they protect us, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's where it just kind of spawned from, I guess.
So is she pretty into what you do then?
Yeah,
Like
she loves it.
yeah.
She watches all the videos. She's in all the premieres.
That's awesome.
They started going on ghost hunts with me when I was younger.
Yeah.
They went to the first 2 years.
Well, he was 12 years old. He wasn't allowed to come by himself. His parents had to come for the first handful of years.
No, that's awesome.
Coincidence or not coincidence, I just watched the movie Ouija last night, all about Ouija boards, and I have so many questions I'm sure we'll get into
one of my good friends actually consults on all those movies. He's the head of the Talking Board Historical Society. So the Historical Society for Ouija boards, he's the head of it. He started it, he runs it. He's like the foremost in knowledge on Ouija boards, and he consults on all those, the Paranormal Activity movies, the Ouija movies, all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
Steve, did you have a religious background, or like what was your take before that?
Yeah, so my parents, like, I went to church school when I was growing up. Like I was in, I would go every Wednesday or whatever it was after school for a couple hours and go to church school. I made my first communion, made my confirmation, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not religious at all. I just did that because I was young and my parents were telling me to go. They didn't force it on me or anything like that. They weren't like super religious at home. We never went to church on Sundays. It was something that I did. Once I got done with church school, I mean, only times I've stepped foot in a church since then are weddings and funerals. I'm not religious in the least bit. My mom and dad still aren't like super religious. My mom actually helped me found the group in high school. She goes hunting with me for over 10 years. She still does it if we're local. So she's super open to it as well.
I think I'd say that because like a lot of the people that are, and I don't know a lot of people, but the people that I know personally before I met you guys that do paranormal stuff are mostly religious. So I always found that to be a kind of an interesting thing that like, and that's always my question for them is like, okay, so if you're a ghost, what does that mean compared to like heaven and hell and all the things you're talking about? Like, how does that play into it? And I don't think I've ever really gotten a good answer from it. So that's always been a kind of an interesting conversation for people that believe that. I'm sure you guys have probably had those conversations, maybe with people that you hang out with or that kind of follow you guys in your events and stuff. But like, yeah, it's always been something that has been interesting to me, like how that plays into it.
Yeah, you get, like you said, you get kind of both sides of it. You either get people that are super, super religious that do investigate. You get people that are really religious that comment on all of our stuff, that we're not talking to any human spirits. Everything we're talking to is a demon, because if anything is left on this earth, it has to be the devil and Satan himself. Because according to their religion, if you pass away, you go to heaven or hell. You're not stuck on earth. If there is something here, it's not human. We get those a lot. And then we get some people like us that are just like, you know, I'm not religious, but I really don't know what happens. And I kind of want to see what happens and figure out what goes on.
Does that ever like sway, like when you're out with people and hosting those events, when somebody's like, somebody ever losing their shit because they're like, it's the end of the world. It's like, I don't know. They expect to see things. They expect for something to happen. But if you think that that's like the most unholy thing, then are they, I don't know, but do they bring an old priest and a young priest just in case? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had anything like that so far. No. I mean, people definitely get startled when things happen because you see it on a YouTube video that's way different than seeing a device go off in front of you, right? Because I mean, a YouTube video, you can just kind of say in your head, oh, maybe they have something set up, maybe they set it off, you know? But when it goes off in front of them in a building that has no power and, you know, we don't have anything on us that could set it off, I guess it just kind of becomes real to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And people, I think a lot of, we've had a lot of people over the last, especially year or so doing this now. We get a lot of newer people. We have a lot of people that are skeptics, you know, like their significant other believes in it, loves the videos, drags them along. They don't buy into any of it all. They're just there because they have to be. And we've had a handful of them that the other night, they're like, damn, like something I can't explain happened tonight. And, you know, they're not, a lot of them aren't willing to say, okay, 100% that's a ghost. That was a dead person. But they're like, that happened. I don't know how it happened. I can't explain it. I'll be coming back to, you know, try it again. But that's not even our purpose. We don't set out to disprove or prove it to people. Like we've had our experiences. We know what we think. We know what we've experienced. We just want people to come and have a good time. And if they leave believing, that's awesome.
I feel like we're jumping ahead, but we're going to go with this anyway, because I honestly like, that's kind of like Joel and I's dynamic. Cause this dude's been dead and he's seen shit. And like I said, like I'm the one who has like the heavy existential dread at times. And I'm the one who's like a skeptic. Cause I'm like, we die. It's dark. And I've always been like, when I was younger, like, I don't know. I was like, either it's something or it's nothing. Like, I don't feel like there's really like we're all on the same train. You just get off at the same spot. So, but I've not experienced a lot of those things. And like I said, I've done psychedelics, but I ain't seen shit that like, you know, we talked about before. I was like, I've looked in the mirror and done some weird shit, but like, I didn't have an experience that made me feel more. So like when we went like, and you know, to the sanatorium with you guys, like, that's where I was. I was like, I'm not like skeptical. I'm like open. Cause like, I want those kinds of experiences. Like I want to feel like I'm like freaked out and I want to see those things. So yeah, but that's why I was there. And that's why I want to do it again. Cause I feel like there was things that happened that made me feel like a little spooked. But I feel like as I get older, I remember, you know, not my stories about ghosts and stuff aren't good, but I think it was like Corydon, Indiana. I don't know if you guys, there's their state house or something there. Like I went there when working for a PBS show when I was in college, and like the story was about Corydon, Indiana's first state capital. Like nobody gives a shit about that, but it was a PBS show, so that's what we were doing. And like a lot of the people there didn't even talk about that. All they talked about was how haunted the place was, and they pulled out this binder. So if nobody, I can edit this out if nobody's been there before, you can get in there. Yeah. I meant to tell you that when I saw you guys, but like they had this huge binder of just like all this shit that like had happened there, and they talked about like, you know, they left and there's balloons on the third floor that were then tied around the mannequin on the second floor, and that's all they talked about. And we tried to convince them to let us change the story to like haunted Corydon, and like they wouldn't let it happen because they generally what they said is they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to be famous for that. But some of those things were kind of the things that moved me. But then I think as I got older and like more jaded, I think I was like, nothing. So like that's why I was like, when they came up, I was like, Joel, we got to go do this. It's kind of exactly what I want to see. Right. So yeah, that's why I want to go do it again, because like I didn't leave like a super believer, but like I had a good time, and I was like, there was definitely some things. But you know, am I older and desensitized? Am I just not? Well, kind of like you. Like if you saw, you know, an old lady sitting on your bed, like is it like, I don't want to say the sixth sense, but you know, like is it somebody who's more sensitive to it that can do that than just like little wizard Eric over here with his dumb beard, right?
Yeah. Does the belief make it real?
Right. Yeah. They say kids and younger people are more open to it or more susceptible to it. Like I haven't seen an apparition or what I believe to be an apparition that clear ever again. I've seen some weird stuff. I've seen some shadows. I've seen, you know, what I thought were people that maybe not, but nothing like that up front in your face and that clear. I was 5 years old.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's cool. Like I said, I had a good time. I just like, that's why I want to do it again. Cause like, I want to keep putting myself in those experiences, and like, I mean, he does too, but like he has different reasons. He's just, he's exploring more cause he's deeper, and he says way smarter things than me. He reads like, I mean, I'm kind of, I always say the point of this podcast is like, I don't want to go read all the books and things. I want to talk to people that had the experiences, cause I'm lazy. I got a job. I got other shit to do. I got time for this. So I don't know. After your experience with the old lady on the bed, going back to the house and everything, how did you get into this is a job? Like,
yeah. So I started the group when I was 16 as a nonprofit here in New York, where we would just do like residential cases. So people that have weird stuff happen in their house. I mean, we live in upstate New York. We live in a historic area. There's a lot of old houses in this area. So we would just do houses. People would call us and say, hey, we've had X, Y, and Z go on. Can you guys come in and check it out? And we would go do residential cases, free of charge, all that stuff. We would just go and investigate. It's giving us experience. It's trying to give them some answers on what's going on. And we did that for a while. We would do some businesses, same thing. If they had some weird stuff going on with their staff or whatever, we would go in and check it out. And about probably 4 or 5 years into that, I start seeing all these big name locations that are opening up all across the country for this, from the TV shows bringing the popularity. You got Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville and Trans-Allegheny in West Virginia, all these places that are opening up that are allowing investigations. And I'm like, man, houses are cool, but 180,000 square foot tuberculosis hospital is way cooler. Like, I want to go there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to go do that. And these places can get expensive. I mean, they're massive historic locations that they have to restore and renovate. So they can be $1,000, $2,000 a night to rent out for 8 hours. And I'm in high school, at this point. So I don't got an extra $1,000 burning a hole in my pocket to throw at an empty building to stand in the dark. Even with my mom, my grandpa, a bunch of family friends in the group, I was like, we did it a couple of years where like my mom got it for me for my high school graduation present. It was my first trip to Waverly Hills. That was my very first trip. And we did that a couple of times. And then I was like, man, I feel bad. Like, it's $1,000 a night to rent this place. My mom's paying for it. We're flying down, hotels. It's expensive. She obviously likes it because like she gets to spend time with me and like we get to do something together. But I'm like, it's a lot of money. How can we make this sounds bad, but how can we make other people pay for it? Right? How can I make other people pay for my hobby? And I was like, man, I don't know. But we went to these historic sites that we had done investigations at. And I was like, hey, I have an idea. I can make you guys money. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, you unlock the door, let us in, tell the history story. We'll sell tickets to 20 people. I'll give you guys half the money. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do anything else. I'll give you guys 50% of all the money that comes in for these tickets. All you have to do is unlock the door and tell the history. We'll do everything else. We'll sell the tickets. We'll advertise. We'll run the event. We'll do everything. We'll give you half the money. And people were like, all right, yeah, that sounds great. We'll take half the money, for restorations. These places are old. They need a lot of work. So we did that at a couple local spots first. We started branching out, doing a couple spots in Vermont, doing little events like that, Western New York, doing a little bit bigger locations. And I saw these events just time and time again selling out. We would use half the money for the historic site. Half the money would go to the group for batteries, equipment, travel, that kind of stuff. And we'd save up amount per year. And then every year in the spring, we would take a group trip that we paid for with the event money. So everybody got to go for free using the event money that we had left. And so I saw this going on for like 6 or 7 years. And I was like, man, all of these events are selling out. And like nonprofits are great and fundraising is fun. And I love helping historic sites. But if I scale this up and do it at a bigger location and bigger, well-known locations, I can probably make this my job if I just do it all the time. And so I created Haunted Nights, and which actually my wife came up with the name for that in the fall of 2019. Started that, had a couple really, really good events in October, like sold out a bunch of events October, November. I was like, man, this is really good. Like I'm gonna be able to quit I hate my job. This is gonna be great. I'm gonna be able to quit my job and do this full time. And then COVID hit 5 months later, and they were like, you can't hang out with anybody, and that made events really hard. But it was funny because probably 5-6 months into COVID, in the middle of COVID, ghost hunting places were the only things that were really allowed to open. We were allowed to do these events because everybody's already dead. So it's like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, we go in, we can investigate. We have people wear masks. The building's the building's 180,000 square feet. You got 20 people in there. You can maintain 6 feet. You can maintain 6 feet pretty easily. So we were able to pick back up with the events during the summer. And then we had filmed for the Travel Channel in June of that year. The show came out in October, and I quit my job in November. And that's been it.
And that was when it went to YouTube?
That was just events. I did events full time from November of 2020 right through 2021. We didn't start our YouTube channel. Our first video was posted the end of April last year. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's been a wild ride.
It's been a wild couple of years.
You've heard me rant about my job, I think, a little bit when we met, so you already know. Like, that's the dream. Yeah, no, that's awesome because I think it sounds weird to say get other people to pay for it, but they're paying for it because they enjoy it.
Right.
Yeah.
So Dylan, was your first real paranormal experience with Steve on one of those events? Like the first time you really saw something?
Yeah, so it was actually when he had the nonprofit group up here in New York. I went to the historical house, probably like 15 minutes from here, and that's when I joined the group. When he launched Haunted Nights in 2019, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to scale this up and travel a ton more. So we're going to be on the road a ton, but we're going to go to some really cool locations." I'm like, sounds cool to me.
I'm going to need some help.
Yeah.
So 2020, I went to basic right after high school, and my plan originally was to go into the Army, go into federal law enforcement, and ghost hunting was a hobby, but I was like, I want to go the law enforcement route, so that was my plan. And then right before I go to basic, I think 2 weeks before, Destination Fear wanted to film at the Homestead, the property we manage up here. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'll be on TV before I go at least. And then I get back, and we have all the Homestead tours, we have all the events selling out. Sam and Colby reach out and they want to film at the Homestead, and then my Instagram followers jump from like 2,000 to I think like 10,000 or something crazy. Like, oh shit, shucks,
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, I started focusing more on like social media, Instagram, Twitter. We didn't really get into TikTok until recently, but just kind of scaling that up. I'm like, maybe I can kind of get into this.
Yeah.
But we did 6 videos with Sam and Colby before we got a YouTube channel,
which was in hindsight, which was really dumb because they just crossed like 10.4 million subscribers or something. So we had 6 videos that we were exposed to people, to that kind of audience, and we didn't even have a YouTube channel to promote. You know what I mean? Like,
oh no.
We only had, they were promoting the events and stuff. And like you said, our Instagrams went from 2,000 to 20, 30,000, people in a few months. They just kind of exploded from their exposure. But then we were like, all right, they were telling us to start a YouTube channel. Other people were like, hey, you guys should do a channel. I said, I don't think we really have time for it. We're already on the road Thursday to Sunday for events. Like, we just don't have time to film and edit and do all this stuff. And we kind of went back and forth about it for a while. And he's like, come on, let's try it once. Let's do a video, see how it does. And we'll go from there. And so we started like promoting our YouTube channel before we even filmed the first video. We're like, hey guys, we finally launched our YouTube channel. Here it is. Subscribe. Videos are coming soon. Videos are coming soon. I kept saying it months and months and months. Videos are coming soon. We're going to do it. And we actually didn't film our first YouTube video until March of 2022.
We started plugging it in like October.
Yeah, we plugged it for like 5 months without any filming, no videos, nothing. And because of the reach from, Sam and Colby and Destination Fear and all that, when we filmed our first video, which we did the Conjuring house for our first video, because we're like,
oh
yeah, I saw.
We gotta, we gotta start with a bang if we're gonna do something cool.
Yeah.
The Conjuring's gonna pull people in, so we started with the Conjuring house. We filmed it on our iPhones. Like, we didn't have cameras. We weren't spending money on YouTube. We weren't gonna sink money into it. We filmed it on both of our iPhones. We downloaded the footage onto my laptop. I'd never edited anything in my life, and I just kind of threw it together. And I think before it even launched, we were at like
couple thousand.
Yeah, we were at 3,000 or 4,000 subs before the channel, before the first video, just from our exposure from other places. And having that exposure beforehand, YouTube saw everybody from Sam and Colby's channel and Destination Fear going to YouTube and searching Haunted Nights, Steve, Haunted, and there's no channel, there's nothing there coming up, so YouTube's confused. We put the first video out, and YouTube's like, holy shit, Haunted Nights, this is what everybody's been searching for, and it's the Conjuring house, and they just pushed it. I mean, we went to 20,000. We got monetized in the first 20 hours on YouTube.
That's amazing.
It was just
so awesome.
It was something we definitely didn't expect. We were like, holy shit, like this, it blew up. Like we went over 20K subs in the first like 3 weeks. Like, we were just like on a rocket, and it's great, but it kind of also, it hurt us at the same time, right? Because you see your first video hit 100K in the first month, and you're like, shit, man, YouTube's easy. Why is everybody complaining? It
sets a precedent,
yeah,
because you expect that with everything after that.
We're like, man, YouTube, why didn't we do this earlier? This is easy. What do you mean it's hard to get views on you? And we posted it, and then obviously everything since then has been like a reality slap in the face. Of like, dude, you're not that good, man. Take it easy. Like, it was luck. You hit the thing at the right time, the right exposure, which obviously that helps. Like, that launched the YouTube channel. We hit 50K subs on the channel within the first year. We're at like 64 or 65 now. So it's obviously, it's come back to like
kind of level
normal pace at this point. But that first month or two was just like, it blew our minds. We were like, damn, we better get filming because we got to get some videos out.
Well, even the first year, once we started consistently filming, like it just kept getting bigger and bigger. Every video was hitting new highs. And then we got robbed in California. And looking at the graph, like all of our views and everything coming from that, it goes from a spike right up here, and then it just drops. And we haven't met that since.
Yeah, we haven't. We're still on the climb back up, and it's been 8 months since we got robbed.
It's crazy.
I mean, I don't want to get your hopes up, but I'm pretty sure that Joel's parents will totally be into this.
Hell yeah.
There's always a joke about Joel's parents being like the biggest fans.
There it is.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
I don't think I've done that in a while. So, but just so you know, mega fans coming your way. You're gonna. No, but that's cool. Like, especially having that relationship with like Sam and Colby. And, like, was the other one Destination Fear? Was it?
Yeah. So they were on the Travel Channel at that point. They're now on YouTube as Project Fear. They started there earlier this year. They went to YouTube. Yeah. They did 4 seasons on Travel as Destination Fear. For some reason, Travel didn't pick them up. I mean, they have a massive fan base, massive following. They had great ratings. For some reason, they didn't get picked back up, and they were like, "All right, pivot." And they're friends with Sam and Colby too. And so they pivoted over to YouTube, and they're already at like 250,000 subs. Their videos are getting 400,000 views. Yeah, they blew up right away from YouTube, so they're doing great.
Well, yeah, Sam, I say I don't listen to podcasts, but occasionally everybody listens to Joe Rogan at some point, and sometimes they're annoyed by him. But sometimes he does stuff I like. Like he had the UFO guys on there, and like there's things I enjoy. But then recently it was Sam and Colby not that long ago, and I watched that, and that's kind of what like sparked my. Actually, that probably had a lot to do with like sparking my interest in saying you're an asshole and you're not open to things. Because I it just was, I don't know, it was just interesting to hear those stories too, and like maybe I'm not open enough. I think
you're saying it to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I could say I could have said it out loud, but it's also to myself. Maybe other people in the room. Maybe I was talking to the cat. I don't know. But that kind of sparked it. The funny other piece that what sparked it was like listening to a Steve-O podcast, which again shows you how lowbrow I can be. Like, no offense, Steve-O, but he was interviewing like Kevin Smith, and Kevin Smith was talking about his heart issues, and they start ranting to Kevin Smith about what they think happens when you die, because like he's big into like NDE podcasts and stuff. And then he had Maynard on there from Tool, and he did the same thing to him, and Maynard didn't give a shit. But it was like, but those are the kind of things that came from that. So yeah, Sam and Colby were kind of like a part of that step into like, maybe you should be more open, and maybe one day I'll be more of a conduit for this stuff.
Yeah,
so.
It's funny because like, obviously I've been doing it for 14 years now, and when I started, it was very like small still, right? There was like 1 or 2 TV shows like Ghost Hunters, that like the original Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi Channel back in 2004 or whatever it was when they came out. There was like a couple little shows once a week on some channels, nothing huge. Nobody really did anything with it. There's, groups around the country and stuff, but Ghost Adventures comes around a few years later, and then there's this and there's that, and there's all these shows now, and it's a massive, massive thing. And it's, Zach Bagans, people love to hate that man, but he brought the paranormal to what it is today. We wouldn't be able to go to a lot of locations that we can go to without him, without his exposure and his business.
And his medium teas.
His size small teas. But he's a genius. He's a genius businessman. He's grew it to a $30 million empire from a little documentary he shot.
Now he's got the museum. He drives a Lambo everywhere.
Bugatti or something. Yeah. But he's like,
we had the same birthday too. Fun fact.
Little fun fact.
Yeah.
He's the person that launched it back then into the popularity for like my generation, right? Like when I was in high school and middle school, Sam and Colby are that for everybody in the last 4 or 5 years on YouTube. I mean, their channel has gone, when we first filmed them 2 years ago, it was at 4.6 million, which is a lot of people, but they've more than doubled in 2 years doing paranormal stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, they're it for the paranormal. Like that is the top. You can't go higher than them right now. I mean, they investigated Zach Bagans' museum. They called Zach Bagans on the phone, and he was like, yeah, come investigate. You know what I mean? Like they're at the peak. They're the Mr. Beast of paranormal on YouTube. Like they are the highest you can be.
Yeah. And it's weird, like seeing where they came from and like what they ended up doing. Like that was more of like a coincidence that they even pivoted to that. Like in one incident that's made them get into that.
Yep.
Well, it's crazy too. Oh, what were you gonna say?
No, you're good. You're good.
I was gonna say, I grew up watching like FaZe Clan, like the trick shotters and stuff, because they played Call of Duty, and I love Call of Duty, and like this is dope. One of the guys, FaZe Rug, actually, he used to do ghost hunts, and recently he's been collabing with them. Yeah. When we looked up Sam and Colby to see if they were gonna like trespass to the homestead and like tear it down or whatever, a video that they did with FaZe Rug came up. I'm like, damn. Like I have, one tether. I'm one tether away from FaZe Rug now. That's crazy.
That's what we talk about, right? Like we have 1 degree of separation from Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's like crazy.
That's true.
Yeah.
And we have 2 degrees from Mr. Beast now because Mr. Beast's friend Carl was in a Sam and Colby video last year or this year.
Mr. Beast wants to do a ghost hunt.
You know what I mean? It's like these guys are like they're really cool dudes. They're super humble, like really down to earth, which is awesome. And what you see in the videos is what you get in person. That's their personality. They don't put on a show for the camera. They're good people.
What do you feel like? And I get this is more like in journalism than I planned on doing, but I have like interest because I have a telecommunications background too. But like with all these different shows out, like what do you feel like? How do you make yours different than other people's? I mean, I think, like I said some things that make me think that, but like, how do you do that?
That's kind of the thing, right? Like a lot of people that are on YouTube for the paranormal started the paranormal on YouTube. Like that's when they started doing the paranormal, is when they started doing YouTube. Whereas we had 13 years and 8 years of investigating off camera without anybody knowing it because it's something we like to do. So we went into YouTube and we film our investigations the same way we've done them for the last 14 years. We don't have the background music in the videos. Yeah. If it's quiet, you're going to hear literally in our last video, all you could hear was crickets for most of the video because it was crickets. And like, we don't put background music over it because we want the people to feel like they're there, right? They're experiencing it the same way we are. We didn't hear creepy background music when we're standing there. We're standing in a dark room. That's it. If there's crickets, we hear the crickets. And we keep it as raw as we can to the investigation. I don't do a lot of editing. I cut out boring spots where nothing is happening for an extended period of time. That's it. That's all I really do. I go through and I just cut out the 4 or 5 minute segments where nothing goes on because nobody wants to watch that. And I keep in the spots where stuff happens. That's it.
I know I'm always cutting out Joel talking all the time.
I super dig that organic approach that makes it more real. And like you said, like you're there experiencing it with you guys.
Hey, absolutely. Yeah. It's honestly, it started out of a necessity. I don't have time to do all this other stuff. I don't have time to do the crazy editing and all the effects and the mute. I don't have time to score a whole hour-long video. Like I don't.
In that same vein too, some channels will be like, you can't make jokes on investigations. Like you have to just be straight investigating. You have to document every single thing. It's like, that's not fun. People go on YouTube because they want to, take a break from life. They want entertainment. Yeah. It's like, we crack jokes every now and then because we enjoy investigating, right? We enjoy bringing people entertainment.
And what people see in the videos is, you guys saw it a little bit at the event. Like what you see in the videos is what you get. We're idiots. Like we just like to have fun. You know what I mean? Like we like to have fun. We like to go to these spots. Yeah, they're creepy sometimes and we get freaked out, but it's like when we're just there and stuff's going on, like we're just, like you said, we're cracking jokes. We're like, you know what I mean? I threaten to leave them all the time and like whatever. It's just, we like
you're trying to get something to like chase him down the hallway. You're like,
I'm trying to get him to float.
It's entertaining.
I've been trying to get him to float for 10 years. Maybe one day he will. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's like I said earlier, it's like a lot of them. And again, like I'm 44. I'm not part of I didn't grow up with the YouTube stuff. I know what the Dewey Decimal System is. Dylan will explain that to you after the call. But yeah, and all that stuff. But like, it's like a lot of them start with like, yo, and scary, like scary music, like effects and like running and stuff. And it's just like, and then I watched, I think you were it was Dylan it's always Dylan in a basement. And then it's just like wearing headphones. And that's how it started. I'm like, what's happening here? Like I thought you're supposed to tell me how spooky it is, but no, it started with history, and then this is the history of it, and then then all of a sudden it's Dylan in the headphones, and I'm like, okay, I didn't need all that other shit, so I think that's probably a good thing for me. So yeah, I appreciate that as well. So
we have a lot more. Our videos are heavy on the investigation portion of it, right? Like most of our video is us investigating. Like you said, we do like a 2-minute, 3-minute quick history in the beginning. And then it's right into the investigation segments. And then at the end, we're like, shit, that was kind of crazy. This happened and this happened and that happened. Well, all right, it's time to either go to bed or get on the road for the next one. You know what I mean? Like, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I like the history part, but like I was thinking about this the other day. It's like one time I'd just like you to go in there and be like, oh, this is the history. General Worcestershire was killed here and blah, blah, blah. And then you're just like, and then, you got the headphones on. You're like, Cheryl. Civic. Oh, Cheryl was hit by a Honda Civic outside this house before, and she's nobody special. I mean, she's special to somebody. She's somebody's name. But like once in a while, I just want more Cheryls to come out in the woodwork.
Somebody random, right?
Yeah. I mean, do you have to be an important person to haunt something? It feels like there's a thing with that, but Cheryl hit by the Civic is like my dream right now. So if you find a Cheryl, that's what I'm going to be.
Cheryl, if you're out there.
We'll find one. We'll find you a Cheryl.
Find you.
I don't know why I thought about the other day because it's always like it's just looking for the guy whose name is there, and it's just like
whatever the house is named after, people just assume like that's who's haunting it. It's It's like, man, this house is 180 years old. Just because he built the house doesn't mean he's the one here.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, we had this.
They get developed. They're like apartments or something after people live there after, and it becomes something else, and that part of history is just kind of forgotten.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like Poltergeist, it's a Indian burial ground. You don't know.
Yep.
You don't know what's there.
Yeah.
Joel and I both worked in a hospital system for a while. We're both IT guys for a bit, and like we were like, how haunted? This is like spoil. Like how haunted is an active hospital, right? Because if that would be an interesting thing.
Yeah.
I'm suggesting. Don't listen, Sam and Colby. Don't worry, they're not going to hear this ever. Don't worry. But that's your guerrilla journalism. Where like you fake sick and you guys sneak in, ghost hunt in an active hospital. What do you think?
Yeah,
that'd be crazy.
We actually we had a very similar conversation. We were at a convention over the weekend in Ohio, and we were talking to our friend Kalani Ghost Hunter, and a very similar conversation of he has a follower. He's got a massive following. He's had almost 3 million on TikTok. So he has this follower that reached out to him and was like, listen, they're sick, they're like ill, and they said, I will sign paperwork for you to be at my death. I want you there when I die. Record, start asking questions. Like that's the freshest ghost hunt you can have, right? Like that person just died, and that would be crazy. Like that's actually a super cool experiment. And that person was like, I'll sign paperwork, I'll do whatever it is. I think it would be really cool if when I pass away, you're there and you just start asking questions.
No, that's amazing. I think a lot of the science that they have around death comes from people just happening to be connected to something. Like you were in an EEG and you died, or like what if those things happen, and that's the only science they have. I think there was an experiment, I forget what it was called, but actually part of it happened what was the Wishart Hospital in downtown Indianapolis. They did part of it there where for people that died, they put like a piece of paper that said something above their bed. So in case they died and came back to their bodies and had decided if they had an NDE and floated out, they could come back and say what the paper said. I don't think it was successful because not everybody comes back. And not everybody has an NDE apparently. So unless you eat the whole box, then you pretty much
the whole box.
Then you're guaranteed, maybe not guaranteed. We're not endorsing that, but yeah, but I think that's kind of like the craziest part of it. And it's kind of cool that like there are people that aren't that afraid of it. And they're willing to like have that openness for something like that. That's nuts.
That's furthering the research, and obviously like we've known a handful of investigators over the year that have since passed, and we've gone to these locations, and I'm like, man, if they can be here and they're here, they should be able to they should be the ones that are coming forward. They know how this stuff works. You know what I mean? And it's like we've gotten some stuff with people that have passed away that used to be investigators, but nothing like crazy that was like, oh, 100% that was them, and like they know how to do this because they were investigating 2 months ago and now they're dead.
Yeah, like what was your favorite movie? And they're like, Ghost. Damn it, that was easy.
Right?
Next. Okay, maybe it's not Ghost. I'm assuming your favorite movie is not Ghost. So
I've got some questions about. Well, so I was just talking to my fiance about this last night. So what about, like he just said, active hospitals versus abandoned hospitals and abandoned places? Like what do you think the difference is for the haunting experience? Like what makes the older places that are abandoned seem to be more of the attractive places for ghost hunting to take place versus like an active hospital or a place that people die pretty frequently?
I mean, we go to a hospital down in Tennessee called Harriman. It closed, I think, within the past 12 or 13 years. That's one of our favorite locations to go to. One, because it's massive. It's a ton of ground to cover. But two, it closed so recently, they still have a lot of the equipment in there. So just the aesthetic of it is very interesting because it looks like an active hospital. I think in the mainstream, though, like the abandoned hospitals get a lot of attraction just because they have the scary factor, right? It kind of plays on your psychology too. Like you're just naturally scared going in, like the Homestead. People break in there all the time. All the windows are torn down, and it just looks like a horror movie, right? So I think that's a huge aspect of it. But
I think with like the same thing with like the newer anything that's functioning. There's a massive old hospital that's still operating within like 2 miles of my house. My mom actually worked there for like 20 years. And I would love to get in there and investigate. I don't care as much what it looks like inside if it's going to be active. I think like you said, the aesthetic of it, right? So like something that's creepy, it puts you in that mindset. That's why our tickets and our videos do better around Halloween. It's people are in that mindset. It's spooky season. That's what they like. I think a haunting at an active hospital may be even more prominent than an abandoned hospital. We've talked about that too.
Right.
Like if it's somebody that died more recently, are they able to communicate easier with us? Can they hear us better? Can they see us?
Or something?
Yeah, the veils, they're not as far away or whatever it is as somebody that died in 1850.
I'm just imagining this episode where you guys are in this OBGYN like nurse center and they're just like, wait, I'm getting something right now, and there's babies crying around you. I'm like, what in the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Right
Baby crying is creepy too. My mom actually worked in like the snuggery, so that would add up. She said it was haunted. She said they had a lot of weird stuff going on over there. So
But you're asking, okay, I'm going to back up on what Joel just said. Are you saying that they're supposed to talk to dead babies?
No, I'm not necessarily that.
Because
But I'm just saying,
OBGYN, like,
well, you know,
I mean, maybe moms die there.
Yeah,
but mostly it's babies. So you just said that they should go talk to dead babies.
An active hospital in general has.
We'll edit this out.
It could be residual too.
Yeah,
that's true.
Active residual like beings or presences.
Yeah. Just the energy left behind. Yeah, I mean, that's it doesn't have to be like a closed and abandoned hospital. It can be haunted the day it opens. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter.
That'd be some unhinged content.
But that brings up like other questions, like kind of like you were saying, like you knew people that died and then tried to speak to them. It's like, is that a choice? Is that who becomes like who stays and who goes? Because you maybe don't have control over that. Maybe like the movies tell me it's because you have something unfinished or some shit. Like, but I don't know. But then it kind of tied into Joel wanting to talk to dead babies, which is fucked up. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. But if that's a thing, if it's a spirit or something, just because they couldn't talk because they were newborn, is that spirit like old and can it talk? Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like there's lots of talks about like people. I think they said that people that are blind and do DMT can still see things because it still stimulates things in their brain because their eyes don't work. If you're, I don't know, are you still handicapped when you're dead? Like, I hope not. That would be really the shittiest joke of the universe is saying, guess what? Still no legs. Like, that's not great.
According to Insidious, you take whatever you have into the further, right? So like when you die, you just go into the further and then you're exactly how you work.
Yeah, nothing's different. You still have all your issues, which is a terrible way to look at things.
Yeah, that sucks. I want to get away from all these issues. I mean, I guess, and I know it's a nerdy question, but I'd have to ask if I wasn't a nerd, because I'm a big film buff, but like of those movies, I guess which ones feel like maybe ring true to you, or do you even think that much about like how that really happens, right? And I said Ghost is a joke, but like I think a lot of people think that that's an interesting way that like I don't know if you watch that. Maybe Steve, because he's an older man, not that old, but you know what I mean. Like some more my mom watched, but like it's just interesting the takes on those things. And I wouldn't be a nerd if I didn't ask you the movie question of like which one of those, like what movies like make you think that speak about ghosts the right way.
Top 5
Paranormal Activity, like when they before they get to like the drastic stuff in the videos, like before they get to the end where people are getting dragged down the stairs and the chairs are flipping and all that kind of stuff, when they're doing the subtle stuff like, oh, I went to get something out of this room and I came back and all the cabinets are open, like that's the kind of stuff that we've had reported, and we've had doors opening, like that stuff is realistic, right? Like that can happen. I've never been dragged down the stairs. I've never had a chair thrown at me or anything like that.
One day,
someday, hopefully. But it's like, I think those, like the early portions of those movies are probably like the closest to what it is. It's subtle. Half the time you don't even notice it until you come back. You might not notice it at all. They catch it on their little security cameras in their house or whatever. The pot shaking when they're not in the room, or
take a bowl out to get some cereal and the box moves. And like, my cereal.
Little things like that. Like, oh, I could have sworn I put this here, but it's over here now. You know what I mean? Like little things like that people don't necessarily always pay attention to, that could be something paranormal like that. But ghosts, though, like I'm saying, like we always say, like, what if we're the ghosts? What if? What if we are the ghosts? We don't know how it works. When you're when it's a residual haunting, it's just the trapped energy, right? It's not like somebody's actual spirit. It's not their ghost. It's the imprint of a moment in time left behind, trapped in a location, plays back like a video player. It's going to happen whether you're there or not. It's not going to interact with you. It's just a video, basically. We have people that have seen or heard us up at the homestead when we're not there. And everybody's like, oh,
it's a mimic.
Yeah, there's a mimic. There's a demonic ghost up there that's copying you, and it's a doppelganger. And if you see it, you're going to die. I'm like, well, what if it's just me? What if it's just a residual haunting of me? We've put hundreds of hours of work into the cleaning and restoring that building in the last 4 years. Blood, sweat, tears. Like we've spent a lot of time up there. We had to have left something behind, right? So like, who's to say how long it takes before a residual haunting starts? Why can't it be 5 minutes? Why does it have to be 50?
Dude, that's way more. Yes, yeah, like that we're energy and all that, and like that's. I don't know. I guess I didn't. maybe I'm not a good listener, but I never really realized that that's kind of the way. So that's what you feel like most of the paranormal stuff is, or do you think it's ever something more like
intelligent and residual are tough, right? Because like intelligent is a thing where you're like, hey, I have this voice recorder. Tell me your name, and you get Cheryl. I got hit by a Honda. You know what I mean? Like you get that. But or it's like if you say, "Tell me your name," and you get like apple pie or something. It might just be a residual voice that you picked up from 50 years ago. It's not an actual ghost. It's not interacting with you. It's just the memory. Or intelligent haunting is, hey, touch that device so it lights up, and it does it on command. If it just kind of randomly goes off, it could just be somebody walking by that isn't really there. It's just the energy.
Oh, I feel that. I feel that a lot. Yeah.
That's why a lot of people say, like, when you have a house from the 1800s, like my house is from 1910. So if I were to like close off this doorway here and just keep a wall, and then later we see somebody in, you know, Victorian clothing walk through the wall, it's not because they're a ghost and they're magic and they can walk through a wall. They're walking where the door was. It's just a video replaying that moment in time.
Or how do you feel about it being like interdimensional and it being like the other side kind of getting into our side, crossing over?
Yeah. So I talk about that a lot because in 2021, I was getting home from drill and he sent me a message. He's like, hey, Exploring with Josh and Jake the Viking want to do a video at the Homestead, which is the property we manage. And he's like, I'm in West Virginia. I'm coming home today, so I can't make it. But if you want to go up there and just give them the history tour, then, you know, that'd be awesome. I'm like, yeah, sounds good. So I go up there. Right when I get there, I'm like, yo, I've been up since like 4 a.m. They're like, yeah, we're not trying to stay that late. We just want to see the sunrise. I'm like, yikes. So, you know, we do the investigation, whatever, goes fine. And I didn't have any energy drinks, but it's only an hour drive home. So I'm like, I'll be fine. I get 10 minutes from home. I'm like, I made it. I roll up my windows. I turn down my music. The next red light, I flip my car. I take out 4 telephone poles. They said I was going probably like 70 or 80. I rolled multiple times. I was wrapped in the wires. But I got out of it with no injuries, you know?
Holy shit.
That I hit the first pole. I should have died on impact, but I took out 4 or 3 more, rolled my car, and then should have been electrocuted when I got out. But
he had a bruise. He had a bruise on the back of his arm.
Yeah.
Wow, so, dude, glad you're still here, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But we always say that I'm dead in like 10 universes because realistically I should be, right? But we've been kind of working on this theory. What if it's like radio stations, right? They say that there's multiple dimensions existing on the same kind of like timeline, right? So what if it's like radio stations, they just kind of bleed together, and then you hear someone yell your name down the hallway. You're like, oh shit. And then they split apart again, you know?
Yeah.
We get that all the time. Like if we are investigating, we have people that say, you know, that voice you just caught sounded like you on the voice recorder. It's like, maybe it was. I've investigated here 50 times. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's, how do I even know it's past me? What if it's me from next year when I'm here doing an event? I don't know how time works. You know what I mean? Like timeline isn't just straight. I could be talking to a future ghost.
That's what Kalani's gotten a few times.
You know? Could be somebody from 2020, 2045. You know what I mean? Like
time doesn't seem to be linear. Or if you subscribe to the Good Place, they have like the Jeremy Bearimy, how the timeline works. I don't know if you've ever seen that before, but it's really interesting how they draw that out and make it a comedy. But like the time splitting off into alternates and things like that too, just based on our choice.
Yeah.
Maybe
like choose your adventure book.
Exactly. Yeah. A tree of choose your own adventures.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I saw this theory. So I always make this joke that Joel's the TikTok guy and I'm a Reddit guy, which says a lot. He's way cooler than I am. But there was this theory on there that it was like a never dead theory, which kind of reminds me of like you rolling your car. Have you heard that? Where they're like, you died there, but you don't know it because like that's like a different timeline. And you carry on and maybe you die of old age, but you never actually die of the trauma. Because people have dreams of like their death and then they don't actually happen. And I think that was that's always what I think of when I hear things like that, because I always think that's interesting. It's like
different dimension. Dylan is dead right now, but this one's still here.
We talk about quantum immortality too. It's kind of like on the same vein as that. It's the idea that your conscious like doesn't want to die. So you get into a wreck like that, you die, but then your conscious is like, I'm going to take you to this universe where you're not dead. Somehow by some stroke of luck, you survive. So, I mean, I don't really know how ghosts work in that sense.
Or he's in a coma right now and he just doesn't know it. And I'm not actually here. You know what I mean? Like he should have hit his head really hard when he did that. What if he's in a coma?
Yeah.
It's like The Walking Dead. What if Rick was in a coma the whole time?
Well, if he was in a coma and like dreaming of like being on a podcast, it wouldn't be with me. I think he'd have a better idea than that. Like
this would be like crazy fourth wall stuff too. Yeah. Like, hey, you're in a coma, you should wake up.
Do you feel like you've had anything after that accident kind of like stick with you? Like, have you felt like a different person ever since that?
I think it might just be the CTE from the airbag, but life definitely has seemed weird. I don't know. It's hard to explain. Like it's just small things.
Well, we always say too, right? Like we lost our really good friend in 2015. He was in a motorcycle accident. He was 21. He was like going to be the best man at our wedding. Like he was our best friend, and so we lost him at 21. And he was in the group only a couple months at that point because he was still young. He knew him, but they didn't really get to investigate a ton together. But it's like Dylan is him. It's like the weirdest. They have the same sense of humor, the same mannerisms, the same everything. Like they fall asleep in 2 seconds in the car. Like that's he did the exact same thing. I mean, they're the same person. And he was in the military. You know what I mean? This kid was in the military. He had applied to West Point just like you. He had graduated college early, like he was going into the military. Same exact thing, right? And he passes away when he's 21. And then Dylan, steps up into the group and he becomes all this stuff. And now he's doing this with me. And that was 2021. So that was really our first full year of doing Haunted Nights. And that was in the summer. So that was like June or maybe July, I think it was. Yeah. But, maybe our friend Colin was like, hey, man, like, not your time yet. You can't go too, right? Like you guys all can't be going right now. You can't die at 20 or whatever you were at that point, 19. Yeah. It's not your time yet. Colin died when he was 21. Maybe he's like, not you yet. Because like he should have been hurt in the very least sense of it. And he had a bruise. Like he went home and took a nap. Yeah. That was it.
Yeah.
Lost his car, but he went home and took a nap and got up the next day and everything was fine. He went on the next trip. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like it was this big whole thing. So
it was like a week and a half later, we went to ISS.
Yeah,
actually, like funny loop how that happened.
We went back to Indiana State. Yeah.
Well, I feel like, okay, so just to get deep with you here for a second, with the NDE experience, I kind of wonder sometimes if I'm not haunted by my own darker version of myself that I've left behind.
Yeah.
And like carried on as a new Joel.
Yeah.
Like from that point on at age 19 to 42 here.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think, maybe like you said, that darker version of yourself, maybe that wasn't supposed to be who you were supposed to be. Right. And that was its way of getting rid of that. Right. It was an interesting way to do it, but maybe that was the way to do it. And now you're who you were supposed to be for the rest of your life.
That's always like the theme of that stuff is like, and we said it like Sunday talking to, that other dude was like, just the things that you needed to hear to make your life different after that event. I have a less happy theory about Dylan. You're not going to like it. I play Skyrim. I play Starfield now because that's updated Skyrim. You could just be an NPC. If this is simulation, they just ran out of characters, so they made another Dylan. It's like everybody has the same voice. I'm sorry.
Hey, those are really big on TikTok right now.
Yeah, NPC streams.
Oh yeah, dude. Is it having on Reddit? Is it having on Reddit? Because I don't know.
Thank you for the rose.
Yeah.
Thank you for the rose.
I have a 14-year-old who shows me that stuff, and I'm just like, but it's the same thing I did with you guys. Where I was like, oh man, people get paid for that. I mean, I didn't harsh you guys as much because like I was already watching it, but like
it's crazy.
TikTok's not a thing. Like, oh look, they're just like
no shame. There's
roboting.
Good money.
That is literally us though. Like that's why we weren't really in the TikTok game.
We were late to that game.
To go back to that, like Kalani, our friend, he was jumping on it when COVID happened. He was out ghost hunting live on TikTok. One of the first people to do it. He blew up. He's at like 3 million. We were like, man, I hate TikTok.
We got Instagram, we got Twitter.
I don't want to. I don't want another app. I don't want to scroll and make these little videos. I don't have time for that. I don't want to do it. We swore by Instagram for a year. Like Instagram lives were like, this is how you make money. We were making money on Instagram, $40-$50 or whatever. We're like, damn, this is making $40 to go live on Instagram. This is crazy. TikTok's stupid. Why would I do that? They take way more of a cut than Instagram. Then we started going live on TikTok. Actually, out of necessity one time. Instagram wasn't working. I went live on TikTok. Made a lot more money, and I was like, we might have made a mistake. You know what I mean? So like we switched over to TikTok, and we've been going nothing but TikTok live for the last like year and a half now. Yeah. And just with that, you build your following. I mean, we're at like 30,000 followers on there. Just from that, I barely ever post TikToks. I hate it. I just use the little templates because I think they're funny. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't actually put the time into a TikTok. TikTok live is kind of like that next thing, and everybody's playing catch up with it now, like YouTube Shorts and all this kind of stuff.
Well, but everybody that, you said, I get it because I don't want all the apps. And I got me a TikTok and I don't have any videos and I'm like, I'm not sharing anything. Like I let this guy be creative and do stuff and he promotes and I'm just like, I don't know. I have a hard time like sharing myself like that in general.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
But you're saying like a lot, all these other people like have all the apps and they love them. So like, yeah, like even if they don't necessarily like, they watch your content on Instagram, then they click over to TikTok and watch you live. Like, I guess it's always
it's a great funnel. It's a good way to funnel people from one thing to another, because TikTok has infinite reach, right? Whereas like Instagram, when you're live, it's only your followers that know you're live. There's no live feed to scroll on Instagram from other people. It's only the people that follow you. Whereas
That's
TikTok,
a very good point.
You're on the For You page. Anybody that's on the app can stumble across your account at all. So it's infinite reach at that point. You just go live. You never know who's going to stumble into it. And you can we have a link tree in our bio. Hey, if you guys like what we're doing here, you want to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, it's linked up in the bio. Go click on that. Follow us on all the other socials. Join our Discord. You know what I mean? Like, it's such an easy way to just funnel people everywhere else. You say that little spiel every 2 minutes on there, every 3 minutes on there, and you just gain people everywhere. Some of them aren't going to go, obviously, but some of them are. And we'll have live streams on TikTok where we'll gain a few hundred, 300-400 subs on YouTube. So it's like, it's awesome. Just a great way to funnel people somewhere else because it is infinite.
I'm surprised Joel's not got his notepad out right now.
Well, I had never considered that about Instagram versus
TikTok. That's awesome. That is like the biggest benefit, I think, of TikTok Live. You can literally reach anybody that has the app, anybody at all.
Well, it's interesting too. We talked to Kalani about this. He said he posts on Snapchat, he posts on Twitter, he posts on TikTok, he posts on everything, because if that's 5 people who are going to read that tweet and then go to your YouTube channel and then subscribe, that's 5 new people. Yep. If 10 people watch your TikTok, they've never heard of you, they subscribe. Just kind of having a hand in each bowl, I guess.
And those 10 people might know another 10 people that like it. You know what I mean? And it can just go from there. I don't know. It's funny. TikTok's kind of like this thing now that's like it's an annoyance, but it's a necessity, really. I mean, it's a thing that my wife runs a digital marketing company, and the same thing. She's like, TikTok, she'll doom scroll on TikTok for hours, but it's great. You can learn a lot of stuff on there as well. But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing.
And find some great podcasts.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
This guy. Yeah, he's doing all that. If you need me, I'll be on Reddit. Sharing.
Hey, Reddit's great. Yeah. There's I think there's a Haunted Nights Reddit somebody made.
Yeah, I found that the other day.
Yeah, well, it's like it's more targeted because I go to the groups that, like, if I'm looking for people to talk to, it's like there's an NDE group with like 100 people that have all died.
Yep.
And then that's just kind of like a place to farm. But a lot of those people like, but that's the difference though. Like a lot of those people like already in that world, so they don't want to listen to it. So that's not the people I'm like reaching out to. But I feel like everybody's got some sort of like question of where they're from, and like and again, like they want somebody else to explain it to them, and they want the lowbrow questions. Again, like going those other things, just like getting to the science of it. Like, I don't need the science, just tell me how you felt.
Yeah,
tell me where you're at.
Yeah, so I want your experience. Yeah,
I don't know, like it's getting there. I guess like before I forget where we're going with this, because I guess going back to like what you said about like just being like an energy that's in the room. And I know that like you talked about like feeling like something had followed you and stuff before. So is there any like experiences where you were actually scared of stuff then, or not because of that? I mean, I guess maybe when you started, maybe more then, but like, what felt most?
I saw that reaction.
Yeah. So like I said, I've been doing this 14 years, right? Like I've been doing it a long time. I always just say like, we don't get scared, we get startled. No matter how many times you do it, you walk around a corner, you see something standing there that's not supposed to be there. It's a jump reaction. It's like a jump scare. It surprises you. You're not afraid that it's going to kill you. You're just like, holy shit, I didn't expect a shadow to be standing there when there's not a person, that kind of thing. We do solos every video. That's our thing. Like we do solos every video in the dark. Because unlike a lot of the other YouTube channels, we film in infrared only. We have no external light. A lot of the other YouTube channels have a light, and they just film.
Yeah, I read that. It's just for the look, like the light. Otherwise, because infrared cannot be as sturdy.
Pitch black. I mean, we can't. The only light we have is our camera screen. That's all we see. We walk into so many like tables and chairs and stuff. That's all we can see is that little light. So like, solos don't freak us out. We do them all the time. Obviously, there's some places that are a little bit creepier to do them just because of the vibe or whatever. But we were just recently at a location in Indiana, Randolph County Infirmary. It's down in Winchester, Indiana. And this place has been on the TV shows. It's been investigated by a lot of people. We had never been there before. We went and we were doing our solos. We actually didn't start filming until like 3 a.m. We got super, super late that night. And I went to go do my solo at about 6 a.m. It was my time to go do my solo in the basement. And so I go down there, and the way it's set up, it's like a cross. So every floor, basement all the way up to the second floor, there's 2 hallways, identical, with a cement wall down the middle, all the way up. And then at the end, there's like a cross section with some bigger rooms. So I'm on the right side hallway in a room. And then the left side hallway, there's just a couple other like patient rooms and stuff leads down the kitchen. I'm in this right side room, and I'm just filming the voice recorder, the DR60. We're doing a quiet session. I'm not asking any questions. I'm just filming it. About 20 seconds into it, I hear a faint female voice. Okay, not a big deal. We've had an experience like that before. I stop the recorder so I can listen, and I'm like focusing on it. And as soon as I stop, I heard one of the loudest disembodied voices I've ever heard. It sounded like a grandmother. It was like an old lady's voice. I couldn't describe the noise to him when I tried to. The best way I could do it sounded like a turkey call. Like it was almost like this weird, like giggle, like laugh. I couldn't tell if she was laughing or crying, but it was so loud, and it traveled. It moved down the hall, like quick down the hall. And immediately I break into that cold sweat, right? Like it's like, oh, like that. There's no way that just happened. That's impossible. That no way. I've been doing this a long time. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen. Like there's no way. My thought goes to, did somebody break in? We've never been here before. I don't know how secure they are. I don't know the ways in and out. Did somebody just break in and made a weird noise because they freaked themselves out? That's scary in itself, because living people are scarier than dead people. Second, was it Dylan trying to scare me for the video, right? Like, did he go down the hall on the second floor, come down the back staircase, and make a weird noise trying to scare me? Because it was about the amount of time it would have taken. I'd only been down there like 4 minutes. It was so quick. My third thought was, there's a lady that is rumored to haunt down there. She was a real lady that lived there. Her name was Ida. She had neurosyphilis. So she was literally going crazy. She was losing her mind. She would run up and down the halls, pulling her hair out, screaming, ripping her clothes off, doing all kinds of weird stuff. She ended up taking her own life in that basement. Now, they used to lock her in her bedroom down there, not because they didn't like her, but for her own safety. From 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., they would lock her in there while everybody else was asleep. Throughout the day, she was free. She could go do whatever she wanted, roam the halls. Then she would just be locked up for her safety. So Dylan had done a solo down there earlier in the night at about 3 a.m. Didn't really have anything crazy, a couple EVPs, whatever. I went down at 6 a.m. and 2 minutes after I'm down there, I hear this lady sound like she's running down the hall, making this weird noise, screaming or doing whatever. And I'm like, is it Ida, right? Because it's after 5 a.m. now. So now she's out of her room. She was locked in her room when Dylan was down there. Now she's out. The timeline. So my mental image is, I'm going to see some crazy old lady run into this room. And then what? What do I do then? You know what I mean? Like, it was that loud. It was so prominent. I've never experienced anything like that. I mean, I went upstairs immediately and I was like, hey, man, you're joking, right? Like, I yelled at him. I was like, you're joking. Like, that's not even funny. Like, we're trying to film at 6 a.m. We got to wrap this up. We don't got time for that kind of stuff. And he looked at me and he's like, what? He's like, man, I'm having some really cool stuff happen up here. I'm like, shut up. Like, what are you talking? Like, what is going on right now? And he's like, what do you mean? And I explained it to him. I was like, man, there is a woman in the basement. And he's like, what are you talking about? I was like, there is a lady in the back. I heard it clear as day. I had the voice recorder and I hadn't even played back the one I had recorded yet. And I got up to him and I was like, hey, man, we got to listen to this back. I haven't listened to it yet. And I held my hand up to him and I was going like this. Like, I was shaking. And that, I mean, it scared the hell out of me.
Well, then we get into the break room so you can like listen back and see if you picked it up on the camera. And we hear like running down the hallway above us. We hear like knocks on the walls and stuff. We're like, it's actually like she's running around the place right now, just like free run.
And then we had to sleep there.
Yeah.
But it was just like that. I don't know what about, I always tell, like, I've been telling everybody, like, I don't know what about the experience scared me, because I've heard disembodied voices before. I've heard a ton of them and I've heard loud ones. I don't know what about that one in particular. If it was just like the tone in it, she sounded like she wasn't all there. She sounded not right in her mind. And I think that's what really struck me, because I wasn't expecting it 3 minutes after I got down there. But it got me. I'll say that's the one time I've been scared in 14 years.
Wow. I mean, is that the same for you, Dylan? Like the same experience, or?
No, so I was upstairs at the same time he had that happen. I was in a hallway that we had actually just left. Like, we split up and we do solos. I was on the second floor. He's down in the basement. We had been up there and we heard some like knocks on the walls and stuff. And I was asking them to do that. And they were knocking on command. And I was having the devices go off. I had the flashlight turn on. But he yells up to me. He's like, yo, is this a joke? And I look down the stairs and his face is just white. I'm like, what the hell?
It got me like that. That's the one. I don't know where's the most scared you've been?
Most scared.
Yeah.
I mean, getting zip tied to a chair to ISS wasn't fun. In the nursing home at Indiana State, I got my hands and feet zip tied to a chair in the middle of one of the hallways.
One of my happier moments.
Yeah.
By a person or by?
Yeah, it was by me. I did it.
Oh, okay.
There for an hour.
I was gonna say that'd be even scarier if it was
if I wasn't there.
Like,
Yeah.
Poltergeist, right?
Probably. I mean,
because you had that shadow moving. You didn't see it, luckily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scary. That's so tough too, because it's like after a while, all the places kind of blend together because it's every weekend, right? So it's like this weekend we're going to Fairfield County Infirmary and Madison Seminary in Ohio, but we were just at Madison last 3 days ago. Yeah. So it's like all the places kind of blend together after a while. I don't know. Conjuring House when the window trim fell off the wall.
That might be it for you. Your legs were shaking.
Yeah.
You look like a scared puppy.
That's our first video on YouTube. We were on the second floor. I think we were on a live stream.
We were on Instagram live before TikTok.
Yeah. And we hear something. It sounds like the house is falling down. We're like, oh shit, did something like, one of our cameras downstairs fell over, like a gear case fell over or something. We tried to go down the stairs. Like you said, I was shaking like a leaf. I couldn't even walk down the stairs. And we get down there. We're like, what could it possibly been? Nothing looks out of order. We get down there and someone on the live goes, is that a piece of the window trim in the ground? It's like in the middle of the room. We're like, yeah, actually it is. That's kind of crazy. And we got the security cam footage from the Conjuring House, and it's like the window trim peels off the wall and then just like launches. Yeah.
Whoa.
And that's something like, again, the Conjuring House, we didn't expect. We had a good night there. We had activity, but we're like, man, this place is going to be so overhyped. It's the Conjuring. You know what I mean? Like, nothing crazy can happen. And they were like, we're going to throw a piece of the house at you.
What's your favorite place to go to, you think?
Favorite is tough. Activity changes all the time. I think one of the coolest places we've been lucky enough to go to is the Winchester Mystery House in California. I mean, that's just like a bucket list spot for so many people. Not a lot of people get to investigate out there. And it's just amazing. I mean, it's a cool piece of history. And to be able to get there and have complete access to the place, just us two, ropes down, go anywhere we wanted in the whole building for an entire night, 3 nights actually this year.
Yeah.
It was really cool. I mean, that's just a spot I never ever thought I would be able to get to. So that's probably my favorite that I've done in at least the recent past.
That's a tough one. Like, yeah, we go to so many cool locations. Like I was saying, I'm a huge history nerd, so I try to rank them differently, right? Because I base them on activity, on aesthetics, because I have to find a way to differentiate them, because I can't just pick a location. You know what I mean? In terms of history, there's so many places in the Northeast that we haven't even hit yet. But I mean, I like a lot of the small town haunts too, just the houses, like Broadwell Funeral Home that we went to. It just has such a crazy story. And then we have that attachment that's been following us ever since, Yeah. So I guess some of the smaller known locations I enjoy. Norwich State Hospital, probably scariest aesthetically the scariest place we've ever been.
I hate that place.
Yeah,
I got no interest in going back there.
It's pretty awful.
Well, you said attachment that's been following you ever since. What is? Tell me more about that.
So it was interesting. We went to the old hospital in College Hill in West Virginia. We were there for events originally, but we said while we're out there, we should just film a video. It kind of makes sense. It's part of the trip. And while we were doing a live stream there before our investigation, we got the name Christopher on an EVP. Well, that's kind of weird. Maybe he was a patient or something. The next day we go to Broadwell Funeral Home. The guy's giving us the history tour. He's like, yeah, this place was built by Christopher Broadwell. He built the house and he ran his funeral home. We're like, wait, what was his name? Well, he's like, Christopher. So we're doing EVPs in the basement during our investigation. And we, again, get the name Christopher. And we're like, oh, shit, maybe it's the same guy. We're like, where were we last night? And he says, West Virginia. We're like, that's so weird. And I think it was like seven or eight investigations after that, we would get him on every single one.
And it would be his full name. It would be Christopher Broadwell every single time. Every time.
You think you saw him in
too. And like, we didn't really buy into the whole attachment. Like, I've never had anything follow me. I've been doing it a long time. Never had anything like that happen. Everybody used to ask me, aren't you worried about things following you home? Like, the only thing that ever follows me home is him. Like, that's it. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't happen. And so like, we had all this stuff going on. I'm sitting here right in this room one day editing. Like I said, our house is 113 years old. I collect obviously Ouija boards and like weird stuff. There's an autopsy table in here. Like, we have weird stuff. There's stuff that happens in our house. But I'm sitting here, I had the door open. It was broad daylight. It was like middle of the afternoon. And I saw a shadow of a person walk by, and I thought it was my wife. So I yelled at her. I said, what are you doing? She didn't answer me. I was like, what are you doing? Still didn't answer me. So I was like, I'm lazy. So I texted her. I said, what are you doing? And she said, oh, I'm on the front porch with the dog. And I was like, I'm on the second floor of my house in the back. So I'm like, okay, who was that then? And we went through a couple of investigations, didn't really get anything from Christopher on those investigations. Like, oh man, that's weird. Maybe he's at my house. and then we were just in. Might have been we were in West Virginia.
Might have been.
I get a call from my wife at like 10:30 in the morning. She's like, "So I just went to get coffee. Me and the dog went to get Dunkin' Donuts." And she's like, "We came back and our attic door is wide open. We've lived here for 6 years. That door's never opened once by itself." She's like, "So yeah, that was fun. I just thought I'd tell you that." And I was like, "Sorry, I think I left Christopher at the house. My bad."
Dang, that's crazy to hear that you guys have that going on. So that's still an active thing. It hasn't stopped.
No.
Well, it's interesting though. It seems like we have like whenever we do an investigation now, it's not the same old like Christopher Broadwell, like benevolent guy who just follows us around from Ohio. It's kind of taken like a darker turn. We always get like, you're doomed, you're gonna die,
You're cursed.
demon, you're cursed. Yeah. So I don't know if it's still Christopher or if it's something else. But like Steve was saying, we didn't really buy into the whole attachment thing. Like, you see it in movies and TV shows and stuff, and it's like, oh, whatever.
Well, people said too, what if it was something darker and negative the whole time, and they would just call it pretending to be Christopher. Pretending. And we got You're Cursed actually down in Indiana at the General Stone Mansion, and we laughed. We're like, "Oh, cursed, yeah, sure. It's gonna be great for a video. It sounds super spooky, like that's awesome, but like that's dumb, whatever." And we went to bed. We got up the next morning and I had a flat tire, and I was like, "All right, whatever." So I get in the car and I drive to the gas station so I can put some air in the tire. Get to the first gas station, there's no air pump there. So I park and I'm sitting there for a minute, and a truck backs into my car and then leaves. And this is all like before 11:30 in the morning. And I'm like, damn, all right, that sucks. We go to film the next night and our hard drive is fried and it won't connect to the computer. And I'm like, okay, this is all really bad. That's funny, whatever. We go home, do our thing. We go back to Indiana like a week later, coming home from Indiana that trip, flat tire at like 80 miles an hour on the interstate, blew out, a different tire, completely blew out, had to get a whole new tire. Like all that happened within like a week and a half. It's been interesting.
Yeah, say the least.
At least a haunting like that or being followed is just more expensive than it is deadly. I mean, the tire on the road might have been, but like,
well, that's what he said, because he's like, man, they're cursed, but this is like what negative demonic entities are supposed to do. They're supposed to like break you down. I'm like, financially, because they're doing a good job.
Yeah, entities are dicks. That's what I learned today.
I was like, man,
they can be.
This hobby's getting way more expensive with this demon.
That's the title right there.
Yeah, entities are dicks.
Tying in the Ouija board aspect of this, have you tried to communicate with this entity with like a Ouija board or anything like that?
Not Christopher in particular. We've done some EVPs like in our house. Like I'll do it on live sometimes when people are asking me to do it. I'll just throw it on. We get some weird stuff. It's funny with Ouija boards. Like I don't buy into them at all. I don't believe in them. I think they're as useful as pretty much any other piece of equipment. I don't think they're, portals or doorways more so than anything else. You're still asking a ghost to use a voice recorder, just like you're asking to use a Ouija board. It's the same thing. You don't know who you're talking to. And if a ghost is strong enough to open or close a door, why do I have to touch the planchette? Why can't they just move it and spell their name? You know what I mean? Like there's too much human involvement, too much human error in a Ouija board for me to buy into it. Even if you're doing it on your own, there's a thing called the ideomotor effect, which you are moving the planchette without knowing you're moving the planchette. It's also so it's like, how do you really know? You're like, oh, Grandpa, what was our code word? And it spells it out. And you're like, oh, I swear to God, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. Well, it probably was. You just don't know it. You wanted it to happen so badly.
That was covered in that movie I watched last night too.
Yeah.
The ideomotor.
Yeah. There's too much human error in a Ouija board for me.
They have a lot of cool designs.
Yeah.
I mean,
say the guy who doesn't buy into Ouija boards buys all the Ouija boards.
I buy them all. I just don't buy in them.
No, it's cool. Is there anything that you see that's kind of like the BS that kind of degrades what you guys do? Like things online where people are like just hokey and like ruining like the art? I like your guys' smiles right now.
That is such a hot topic right now.
If you go on Twitter, it's a
oh my God. Paranormal Twitter is like that scene in SpongeBob where the city's burning down.
Everybody's running around.
Yeah, that's Paranormal Twitter right now. People are, I think, too caught up in what everybody else is doing, right? So like people that are making videos on YouTube that are so hell-bent against anybody using the word demon, demonic, that kind of stuff, entertainment aspect of it. They say that those are not real paranormal investigators. They're just in it for the money. It's just business, yada, yada, yada. I say, you know what? If it's just for the business and it's just for money, who cares? If that's why they're doing it, that's their job. That's why they're doing it. Why does that bother you? Why does it affect you? You just go film your investigations, put them out. If people like your stuff, they're going to watch it. If they don't like it, they're not going to watch it. It doesn't matter.
Are you saying like this is the sports entertainment of your realm?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, so people get really mad about that on YouTube, saying, well, you're hurting the field. You're making the field look bad if you say demon here, demon there, scariest night of my life, a demon attack, yada, yada, yada. And my argument to that is, listen, the paranormal's been around for a long time, right? YouTube's been around for a while. Paranormal YouTube is just getting popular, like really getting there. People that are trying to further the research of like the paranormal and like get theories and new ideas and all this stuff, they're not going to YouTube to do that. They're going to YouTube to be entertained. They want to watch a ghost hunt. They want to be scared. They want to laugh. They want to do that. They're not going there to talk about theory. If they want that, they go to conventions. They go to conferences. They meet with authors. They read books. Those
maybe they go to Reddit. Maybe they go to Reddit.
Exactly. Absolutely. No, really, they do.
Boom.
And that's the thing. And I think people don't differentiate that, right? Like, it's okay to have both on YouTube. You can have those paranormal investigators that are just straight science, no demons, yada, 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 ghosts. And you can have people that are like, there's a demon here, there's a demon there, there's a demon here. First of all, nobody knows.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter it doesn't matter. You can't tell anybody that what they experienced is not a demon any more than they can tell you it is. You have no proof either way. So how do you can't complain about it.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's what people want to hear. Like, they want to, like, I wanted Hulk Hogan to punch Macho Man, but he really didn't. Right. And it was kind of sad.
Little side note, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, you know?
Oh.
Hey, childhood home is across the street from me.
Oh, no way.
Nice.
Yeah, he grew up across the street from me. Yeah.
Dude.
Fun fact.
We gonna say something, Dylan? Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, like, a lot of people have issue with people making money off of paranormal content too. They say that YouTube makes it like a sideshow, or you're treating them as like attractions or whatever. It's like, well, first of all, why do chefs work in restaurants? If you're good at something, if you're entertaining and people watch your videos, why not make money? If it's your hobby, I mean, isn't that what we all want to do? We want to make our hobbies our jobs.
Right.
I don't know.
Yes, 100.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Did I say yes? You say yes?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to turn passions into profits.
Exactly. And that's not a bad thing.
And a lot of these places, their stories would not survive if paranormal investigators, YouTube creators, documentary makers didn't go to these locations and tell these stories. So,
and they have to pay money to do that.
Exactly. So saving historical locations too. So it's like,
I don't know. I think people, like I said, I think people are too concerned with what other people are doing. You should just go out, film your stuff. I think that makes our field look worse than anything. It makes it look like high school. You're all just ganging up in little cliques and arguing and, like, mean girls and fighting each other. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Nothing anybody says is fact anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Well, people find their audience. Like I said, if they want like the music and the, then they'll go to something else. If they just want something that's like more the business, then they'll go to you guys. And
it's channels that, it's a lot of times it's people that, maybe they see Sam and Colby, right? Getting 1.5 million views in the first 5 hours. And they might, I mean, half the time they don't even use the word demon in their videos, but they see them and they're like, they're fake, they lie, they're loud, they're making a joke of it. That's the only reason that, that's what it is. And that should be abolished. Only real paranormal investigators should be on YouTube. And then they're upset because their videos aren't getting 1.5 million views, right? If you're angry with views and you're angry with people making money, then why are you even posting on YouTube? If you're actually just in the paranormal because you are interested in the paranormal and everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants views on their videos, or else you wouldn't post them. Right. So it's like, it's business. That's at the end of the day, it's business, and nobody has a fact. You can't say anything about the paranormal as a fact. Doesn't matter how long you've been doing it.
Yeah, Joel and I had this conversation like on the very first time we started doing this, which wasn't that long ago. But it was like, if that's your job to find things, then you better fucking find things, right? Yep. Like, so it can make it a little bit weirder, like where like your content's not as good because something didn't happen. Like when you guys just kind of said, like, you just sit there and like just hope something happens, which I think is like the fair way to do it. And it's like, it's up to you and your integrity, right? Like, yeah,
for example, the Sally House. Everybody talks about the Sally House being super demonic, negative, evil, all that kind of stuff. Crazy haunted house. It's 21 or 22 hours from where we are in upstate New York. We drove there last December to film. We did a 3,400-mile road trip, hit a bunch of spots. We're in the Sally House. It was me, him, and our friend Mark, who did some videos with us. And it's 2:00 in the morning, and literally nothing had happened yet. Not a thing. Like, we had filmed all of our segments, because we film in segments. It just makes editing easier. We had filmed the basement, first floor, second floor. We had done it all. Nothing had happened. So 2:30 in the morning, we sat down in the living room, turned on the lights for a minute, and we're like, let's regroup, chug an energy drink. And we'll start over. And we literally just went and refilmed the entire video until we had enough stuff happen to put a video together. We were up till 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's just like sometimes you just have to do that, but
it's never you never come out completely dry on something. You just had to keep recasing.
You just keep going. Yeah. You just keep going until you get enough. There's going to be videos that don't have a ton of evidence, and in those videos, you'll see us kind of joking around a little bit more or talking a little bit more theory. You got to fill the time a little bit.
No, I think that's good. I mean, I like that part. I mean, obviously, like I have a hard time taking most anything in life seriously, which can turn out bad for me a lot of times. But I don't know. I think I enjoy that part of it where it's like you don't have to take it so seriously. Because like, even like, you know, when we went to the Indiana State Sanatorium with you, like you guys were joking the whole time, and it's just like shit talking entities or ghosts or whatever. Just like I was like, I don't think most people, like you said, most people be like, yeah, you can't do that.
They just want attention. It's their own source of publicity. They're just like trying to discredit the others.
You gotta have people that think their way or no way is the only way. You know, it's that kind of thing. But you gotta have fun. You're investigating in these buildings for 8, 10, 12 hours, and stuff's not happening all the time. Most of the time, stuff's not happening. You have to be able to have fun, or else you're not gonna want to do it anymore.
If we're filming for 6, 10 hours, and we're serious the entire time, that's going to be so draining. You know, and like you said, everything's not going haywire the entire time.
Yeah, so, you got to be able to have fun with it. Like that night in Indiana State, the event ended at 4 a.m. right, and like everybody was going into the bunkhouse to sleep, and this one girl who's come to a few of our events, she brought a Portillo's chocolate cake. And it was just like, hell yeah. And everybody just sat out there till 6 o'clock in the morning, having a great old time, cracking jokes, eating cake. You know what I mean? Like that's the fun part of it.
I felt bad because like I didn't know what to expect. Like I didn't know much about you guys. I didn't know what was going to happen. I assumed it kind of looked like Hot Topic when we got there. I was wearing black too. I was just saying like, it's a bunch of people in black. And I was like, I guarantee we're going to see a Nightmare Before Christmas shirt. I don't know if that happened, but like I used to work at Hot Topic when I was younger. So, but yeah, but I didn't know it was going to be such a community. And like, it was weird. Like I said, like I didn't know as much. And I realized that these guys were all like really just like, just fans of yours. And like they were, but you were also really just friends with them and you knew them. And like, I felt bad that like we were so old and tired that because you're like, it ended at 4. Nuh-uh. I would say it ended like 11 o'clock when Joe looked at me. He's like, can barely keep his eyes open. Like, I guess
that's the thing though. Like we've made some of our best friends in the last probably 5 or 6 years from paranormal, from events, through like Instagram and stuff. Like all the people that help us out at our events, Courtney, Mark, Deanna, Tim, Josie, all these people we met through events. Like they've come to events, they keep coming to events. We become friends, we build friendships with them, and we hang out outside the events now too. So when people get together, it's basically like we get to get a group of our friends in different parts of the country together every weekend somewhere. It's a different grouping of friends that just kind of meet up and go check out a new spot because we're all over the place.
No, that's cool. And like I said, I do want to go back out and do that again because I thought it was cool. And like I said, I wish we had been able to stay to just kind of experience that. And honestly, like part of me was like, I was talking to him about, like those little recorders where you can record the room and stuff. Right. I was like, I wanted to talk to the people there because I think they like in a group session, like they would have cool stories to kind of, and just to hear their excitement because I think it kind of adds to like, I don't know. I just like hearing the stories of people and getting captured.
Yeah, we were there when you guys were near the nurses station and you had a medium channeling voices, but that was new to me and Eric. Like neither one of us had really experienced that sort of thing before, and that was really awesome. And right before that had happened, we were at a part of the building when we went down there to investigate like right away as soon as it started.
And we didn't know how it worked. That's why we ran away. We didn't know like I didn't know you guys were actually going to do shit. So we just ran and like, let's do it ourselves. So, and then, but let's also say that when we walked into it, it was super awkward because they were in the middle of that and we just tripped like the what's the one that the plays like the music.
The music box.
Yeah.
Off.
And that's how we found out. And it was like, I feel super awkward now.
But before that, like at the beginning of the night, we were down the other end of the hallway and heard noises coming from where it sounded like inside the room and above. And so like we were fresh in there and there wasn't anybody there to be making these noises. So I was just like, I felt my hair stand up and like felt the energy and was just like, this is what I'm here for. And like, I know I disprove stuff.
Right.
And we went back and the second time it did happen again, but the time that we actually tried to film something Nothing.
Yeah,
Of course, nothing, right? And then we came down the hallway and found you guys. And I was like, hey, we should go down here and check this
I don't know
out.
if I was trying to disprove. Like, I'm not that kind of. I just like. I feel like I said, I don't know. I don't feel those things. Like I think I did when I was younger, but I don't feel that now.
Yeah.
And like that's like of all the things, that's all I wanted was like I want. I feel like I'm kind of just old, shitty, and bulletproof for most things. Like I don't scare easy. I laugh more than I do anything.
Right.
So it's like I wanted like some sort of feeling to crawl up my spine. And I when they were doing the medium thing, I was like, I wanted nothing more than all that shit to light up at once. Cause like those are the things that like that kind of like for my skeptic mind, like will like solidify it. So that's all I wanted. And honestly,
the cool thing is too about the footsteps up above, you know, a lot of people say, well, that's an animal or whatever, and there's no floor up there, so why would there be a ghost up there? Why would they be walking on the ceiling? That spot where the nursing home is where the old men's TB ward was, so there was another floor up there originally.
Well, that was the thing. So we circled around and went to where the stairs were to go up and try to see, like, let's go check out the room right above where that is and see if we find anything. Well, there was no room to go to.
Yeah, that was
we were like, cool. What?
Yeah, but there used to be. That's the cool thing. So that could be residual, right?
The residual thing, yeah.
Well, that changes that a lot. Like that makes a big difference. Because I remember like going up there and I just told them there is no room. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I do have a story for you guys a little bit. So like my history with paranormal activity is really short. One of my friends' house that we stayed at there was a party when I was like 22 or something like that. I thought that I saw an old lady in a dress walking past one of the hallways, and I said something to the guy that lived there, and he was like, yeah, that's what some people have said they've seen in this house before. So like that was the closest like vivid apparition think that I saw, but I was wasted drunk. Like I don't remember what exactly happened there, but it didn't look like it was any person that would have been at that party because they were wearing like an old dress or something. And then way earlier in my life, my parents were friends with these people that lived in the very first hospital ever created in Mongo, Indiana. And the top floor was sealed off. And that was the operating room, apparently. And my whole family was there. They were there. So there was like 6 people that heard this happen. But there was like all these people running. It sounded like a group of people running across the floor upstairs. And we all kind of like looked up at the ceiling. And the lady's husband banged on the door that was sealed off and was like, shut the F up, you know, like, and then they stopped. And we all just look at each other dead ass and we're like,
is this real?
Like this, yeah, exactly. And so like to experience it with other people, like that's when it became more of a reality to me. Like this is real. Like we're not just imagining this.
Yeah, you got all these other eyes on it. And you're like, okay, it wasn't a play of my eyes. It wasn't, I thought I heard something. 8 people in the room or whatever saw the same thing. I mean, that's like Tim.
Yeah, he didn't believe in ghosts at all. But another cool thing about the events too, it's all these different people are coming in the same place and they have different belief systems. You know, some are wicked religious, some don't believe at all. And they're all coming together and kind of giving their theories and asking their questions, you know? So it can cause activity to happen that wouldn't have happened.
Different outlooks, different perspectives, different reactions.
Well, it's kind of like what we're doing now. And like that's something I was going to ask you. Is it like we're waxing poetic on some deeper shit? Do you guys like this is what you guys do? Like, do you ever like get real introspective about like why this stuff happens and how and is it me someday? And like then you have that, like you have that group, then you can like, and that's why I said it interests me. Again, podcast, no podcast, recording or not, like I think having that group of youngsters, because they look young to me, in their room and having like a dialogue about that and probably like a lot less prejudice about like backgrounds and shit would be a totally interesting conversation to have, like regardless.
It's cool because like we'll bounce theory off people at events because, you know, a lot of these people have been coming to events for a couple of years now. So there's a handful of them that have pretty good experience now in a lot of these different haunted locations, but we have been going for a long time and we bounce a lot of theories off each other and like things that we've seen over the year. And we have this, you know, on top of the what if we're the ghost and it's just us residual haunting the house or whatever it is, we've started thinking, like you said, timeline's not linear, right? So what if it's like little slips in time? I thought of this, it kind of dawned on me last year. We were filming in West Virginia with Sam and Colby actually, and we were at Trans Allegheny. We were walking down a hallway at like 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it was. We weren't even filming at this point. We were literally just moving from one spot to the other. Nobody was doing anything. But like, I'm sure his the same way. But like, whenever I'm in these locations, I'm always looking and listening and like thinking and trying to figure out what's been going on and what's happening. And so we're walking, and I'm kind of by myself, and we open a door. We go upstairs, close the door behind us, and go on to the next spot. Nobody thinks anything of it, just keeps moving. But as the door closed behind me, and I was like, wait, what if, right? What if in that instant the door closes? It's some weird time slip. It's 1950. This is a functioning hospital. The nurse that's sitting at the nurse's station in that hallway didn't see us, didn't hear us for whatever reason, but she saw the door open and close by itself. And she's like, holy shit, this place is haunted. And so she goes home and tells her family, hey, this place is haunted. She goes back to work the next day, tells one of her coworkers, and they're like, yeah, that's weird. I've had this experience over here and this over here. And it kind of just spreads. And so these stories of this building being haunted get passed down throughout the years, and it's the only reason we're there to go investigate. But we're the ones that actually created the haunting.
Mind blowing. It's like a
brain.
Right?
Yeah, that's like a Ouroboros of
literally, like, what if we are the reason we're there now investigating because we open and close that door?
Okay, so have you guys, going back to the movies and shows and stuff, have you seen The Haunting of Hill House?
Yeah.
Yes.
Boom. That's like the cycle of like you're haunting yourself.
Yep.
Like,
that's a great show. That's actually a pretty good.
That is great.
Yeah, dude.
Besides the whole like bent neck lady floating down the hall, that would scare the shit out of me. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty spot. That's exactly what it is, though. Yeah.
Man, it kind of just, you've worked my mind in a good way.
Like, what if? Right? And we don't know, and I don't know if we'll ever know.
I mean, I guess. I mean, usually this is like, I think I got more questions, but I think the thing I usually ask at the end, but I guess relevant now, is like, a lot of it comes down to like the last question is usually like, what do you guys think? Like, what happens when you die then? Because like, you're saying it's energy, but it could be more. So like, considering like not very religious backgrounds, having some spirituality there, like where does that leave you guys thinking? Like after these experiences, that changed anything for you, or do you still feel like it's a big question mark?
I think I have more questions now than when I started, but I think that there's a piece of everybody left somewhere, some way, whether it is residual or intelligent. I think that like your subconscious, whether there's reincarnation with past lives, you have these stories of these 3-year-old kids that are like, oh, I died in a plane and landed in the water, and then they go there and they find a plane. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like they find something like that. It's like something happens to you. Your body's gone, whatever it is, but something happens to you, whatever that is. It's either reincarnation, intelligent haunting, or something else that we just haven't figured out yet. I don't think when you die, I don't think that is the end of you completely. It might be the end of this version of you,
right?
But it's not the end of you completely. I just don't know where you go.
I agree with that and align with that.
You on the same page, Dylan, or you think Steve's stupid?
Pretty much on the same. No, I'm on the same page, I'd say.
I'll tell you guys also, I just watched some crazy shit on TikTok where there's a zoom in on uranium, and it was showing subatomic particles literally shooting off of it, and I was like, okay, that is fucking wild. Like I've never seen that before, and it just kind of blows my mind with like the atomic world and everything connected with that. I don't know how much you follow like the split experiments or anything like that go along with everything in molecules and our observation of molecules and
how they react differently if you're observing.
Exactly.
That's crazy, because that ties into the paranormal too, because like you were saying, when you film, nothing happened above you, but when you weren't filming, that's when you had the experiences. We go to a lot of these locations, devices will be going crazy, we get some crazy EVPs on our live streams, and we pick up the cameras and we start filming and directly asking them questions, nothing happens.
SK Pierce, he got his shirt tugged off camera. We've had, for example, Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky, we had this room, there's a bunch of like toy kickballs in there because there's a bunch of kid spirits, and we kicked them all around. It was like 3 a.m. This was one of the nights not a lot of stuff was happening. We were getting tired, we were getting bored. Me and this other kid in the group just kind of kicked the balls all over the room, just like a mess. We used to play soccer, so we were just kind of passing the balls around. Left them, walked away, did nothing. Came back up about 10 minutes later to pick up the camera, and every ball in that room was lined up perfectly right down the middle of the room. The camera that's in the doorway of that room is pointing out of the room down the hallway. So it happened behind the camera. If we had filmed the room, would it have happened? I don't know.
That freaks me out just hearing you talk about it.
It was literally like a 10-minute. We walked back up to that room, and we both just stopped and stared. We're like,
That's gotta be a joke.
Well, that's some bullshit. Right? And the camera's facing directly out of the room. It's right there, facing away.
That's the moment when I like ask to leave. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
You're like, and we're good.
Those ghosts are too old for Joel to talk to. He wants to talk to the dead babies. By the way, just want to point that out. Just want to point that out. Like he's already said that. Like that's what he's into.
It's on record.
Yeah.
You know,
we're gonna edit that out. We're gonna edit this out. It's fine. Yeah. No, that's cool. I guess Dylan, did you have something to say like as far as like the existential part? Like I don't know. Like we could kind of cut you off on that.
I was gonna say, so yeah, I'm kind of in the same vein as Steve. Like we all leave something behind, but recently I've been getting into Stoicism really heavy, like Meditations. Marcus Aurelius, great book. I actually got tattoo right here. It says "Tempus fugit, memento mori," means time flies. Remember, you will die. Tempus fugit is actually on the fireplace, one of the places that we go all the time. So that's what kind of got me my thinking about it. But we have a very limited time, you know, just kind of do these things and explore these places. So you just kind of have to make the most of it. I don't really know where we go after this. Like Steve was saying, I have a ton more questions getting into the paranormal now. But I think the topic of life after death is always going to be something that's prevalent, even if it's not in the mainstream, like you were saying earlier with the PBS not really wanting to talk about the hauntings. Maybe it won't be mainstream ever, but life after death will always be a topic. And I don't know if we'll ever actually know.
No, I don't think so. Wherever we go, he'll definitely be sleeping. He'll take a nap for sure.
Ghost hunting for sure.
Yeah.
Not everybody was raised with a comfort, and it's kind of like where like Lost End comes from, because I think like most people are raised with a religion and they have like this destination that they're going to, but then once you get older and start questioning things, then you've kind of like, that's where that name came from. It's like then you've lost that, and then you have to figure out like what your end is going to be. So that's kind of like why that focus always goes back to. And honestly, like that's the question that I think so I interviewed Joel first because it made sense, because he had a whole box of things that died. And like that question, that seems to catch most people off because they don't really think about it, especially if they've like had this comfort after a while. Like I died and I'm not that worried about it again. So what do you think happens? And he's like, I don't know. And then we talked about like, you know, maybe he didn't quite get there because he talked about like shapes and like seeing a Buddha figure and like gave him the bird. No, that part didn't happen. But we talked about it like, but it wasn't. We don't know if that's everything. Like that's just might be the gateway to something else.
It did feel like something else was next.
So it's like nobody, like even the people that have had these things that have changed their lives, they don't necessarily still have that answer. But again, they think that's what like gives people comfort when they find out that like there's hope for it, like right, like and this doesn't feel like it's all meaningless. We can all make money on TikTok someday. No, that's not what I meant. I meant something else, but yeah, that's fine.
The first actual ghost live streaming on TikTok.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Oh,
that'd
man,
be good hits right
communication.
There.
Yeah,
and then back so we can have this conversation. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah. People stop giving a shit and they have to start doing that NPC thing. Like, oh god damn it, I was a ghost and now I'm a ghost like pretending to eat spaghetti. I don't know what they're doing. Like, I don't know what's that.
Christopher coming back for your lives, you know.
Yeah. He's like, wait, how many people you guys got watching right now? He's like, I want to get it.
I'm gonna slam this door for it. Hold on.
He's like, check this out.
Yeah. Well, did you have any more questions that before we get, because I want to kind of talk about a little bit more about what we did with you guys. Again, we didn't do that much, but I talk a lot, so I didn't know if Joel had something to ask before I got into anything else.
Like the questions I had were a lot to do with the Ouija board stuff, because like that, like I've always been a bit reserved from that world, like kind of straight up scared to get into it because I don't want to like awaken something and have it attached to me. So like when you started talking about how you have an attachment, like I was like, okay, I gotta ask some questions about the Ouija boards.
Well, I mean, I guess that is one kind of avenue that Hollywood does, I don't know, kind of hurt the paranormal field, because a lot of it in Hollywood that you see, it's like Insidious, you know, the demon comes out of the wall and then it throws the person across the room and all this other stuff. It's like, we go to buildings a lot of times, we'll be sitting there for 6 hours and nothing happens, you know? So I guess in that vein, Hollywood kind of hurts the paranormal, but
it also helps, right?
Yeah,
because it makes it. People like to be scared. That's why haunted houses are a success. You know, that's why people like horror movies. They like to be scared. That's why videos with demon in the title on YouTube perform better.
It's a trade-off.
It's a fact. They do. Because that's what people want to watch. Is that how it always is? No. But putting the word demon in your title doesn't mean you're a bad paranormal investigator. That's not what it is.
Right.
And like Ouija is so interesting because, I mean, these were a parlor. It's a business model, right? Like it's if you look at the history of Ouija, they get massive spikes in sales and in new companies and new variations. Like you can only see really like one company behind me. I have 75 Ouija boards in my house. there's multiple different companies, different eras. Like there's a blue board over here behind Dylan. There's red boards over there. Like they don't all look like that, right? There's spikes in sales and new companies around wars, World War I, World War II, the 20s, the 40s, because people are trying to talk to their dead loved ones. It's a business model. That's all it is. It's people coming back being like, hey, sit down with this piece of wood and move your hands around it and go down the street to the psychic and she'll talk to, your dead brother from the war or whatever it is. And that's when there was huge spikes in them.
And going back to it, that is a sort of comfort though,
Yeah.
Knowing that you can your relative, that's what the Ouija board kind of was for that time frame.
It was like a parlor game. I mean, they've been around for a very, very long time, way before Hollywood made the movies and the Paranormal Activity and all that stuff. I mean, my oldest board is from 1890, and that's one of the oldest first patented boards. But there was other ways before that. They had the automatic writing planchettes. They had They had the same kind of thing before Ouija boards. So I don't know if Ouija boards were all like portals to hell and basically telephones to demons, that I would be in some serious trouble. My friend Merch would be in the biggest trouble. He's got that's from the
Salem talking board.
The Salem Museum that one of our friends runs down in Salem. But it's a board, right? Like it's a piece of I think intent has a lot to do with it, just with anything.
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I keep hearing. And so to bring even more comfort to this whole situation, I did do some research. My fiance did research, so I have to give her total credit on this. Thank you, Laura. But she looked it up. And so Hasbro, made the movie, makes the Ouija board. They also own Milton Bradley, Magic the Gathering, and the Wizards of the Coast for Dungeons and Dragons. So they obviously believe in some beyond stuff and magic and whatnot on their own.
It's
or at least financially.
And then financially, yes.
Yeah, Milton Bradley, Parker Brothers, they bought the William Fuld company. So most of these boards you see behind me are William Fuld. He was like the guy that patented him and his brother and all this kind of stuff. His family sold it to Parker Brothers in the 60s, and that's when they transitioned over to mass producing them and the hardboard and cardboard and
the Barbie
boards and stuff like that. All of that. But before that, it was just a couple companies doing wooden boards. A lot of them looked like this back then. Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing, the theme that comes back to a lot of these things. Again, we talk to people that trip, and we have one guy that did DMT and believed that he's a friend of mine. He believed he talked to his unborn daughter, and it was so meaningful to him. He's like, I hope to meet her someday. And then the guy, again, we talked to the other day, he made DMT. He did ayahuasca with a shaman and shit and pissed himself, which is one of the funnier parts of his stories. But and he questions whether or not it's real. And he's like, I don't know, because I've read a lot. I don't know if this is just a manifestation of my brain. But it kind of ties into the Ouija board and everything else, which in the meaning thing, which is what I keep saying it because I want to sound smart, but it's a lot of it doesn't matter if it's real or not, if it's a comfort, right? So if somebody's into a Ouija board and they think that shit's real, I'm not gonna say anything. It's just if that makes you, again, if it makes you feel good to think you're talking to somebody who's dead and makes you feel good, that's fine. But again, it's the intent, and if there's profit in Milton Bradley, whoever the hell it is, the Pillsbury Doughboy, one of those people making all that money off of it, then it gets a little shitty. Because that's when it feels like you're exploiting something. And I think that kind of ties into even the stuff that's on I think we're saying the other channels and the people that maybe besmirching your good name by doing things that are weird. They can be, if it exploits something, fine. But I think Dylan, you said earlier, kind of who are we hurting? And can they sue us? Nah, they're fucking dead. So good luck.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, this Chris guy's family's gonna find you and sue you. Stop talking about him. I don't know. That ain't gonna work. So you guys are solid legally. So way to go.
Yeah, it's so funny. With the paranormal getting more popular, there's so much arguing and everything now, and we laugh a lot of the time because again, you just don't know. No,
nobody's an expert.
You can't say anything in the paranormal is fact. It doesn't matter if you've been investigating for 5 minutes, 50 years. Nobody knows anything.
It's your anecdotal experience versus their anecdotal experience.
And you can't tell somebody their experience is wrong on something that's not proven.
Yeah, but it's cool what you guys said. But it's more interesting when more legit science takes an interest in it, right? And I think that's again, a lot of the other things we talk about are psychedelics and stuff. And I think there is more of a movement for science to look into that and see if some of that stuff is real. And it'd be interesting if they did more of that with the paranormal. But again, Okay, we're saying like timelines and other things we don't understand. He's talking about quantum physics and shit. Like I don't even remotely understand that, and I'm not going to try. I did watch the Avengers Endgame. I'm sure that has something to do with it. But all that,
Definitely.
all the movies,
all the ghosts appear.
Yeah,
that's right. That's it. Yeah, but I guess like that's I don't know where I was going with that. I'll just shut up now. But
That was brilliant.
I lost myself.
That was connected for sure.
I lost myself. I got into Avengers and I was like, oh yeah. Then my ADD mind was picturing Thanos snapping all the ghosts back. And you guys are out of a fucking job. Good idea, Dylan. Jeez.
man, come on.
We got Loki for the alternates, so you're not far off there, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but I guess like I was saying, like I just like if they took more of an interest in it, but I think there's so many things that we just don't understand. And again, like that was like the story from the beginning of this was like, as I was talking about, I was like going outside depressed or something and like looking at the sky. Like it was like the idea was like, and then you feel small because you realize that you're just like fucking nothing in this infinitely expanding universe. But then that also the comfort from that is that you don't know shit. Like, and you can read all the books and you can have all these theories, but you don't know anything. So like, at the same time, it's like, you're like, oh, it's just pointless. But is it? Like, I don't know. Now there's fucking aliens. When's your next channel coming out? Finding the aliens. Come on, guys. Next
and Bigfoot, like all the cryptids. That Bigfoot's a big thing around here. There's a lot of Bigfoot sightings near our house. So
yeah, but if Bigfoot's never on a camera, that's a little bit different, right? Like
well, there's the other theory that what if Bigfoot's a ghost?
Yeah, the ghost
or the aliens
crossover. Right. I don't know who the other YouTube channel is, but like there's a crossover somewhere. If there are people, there's a channel that's just dedicated to Bigfoot. I don't know if that. I'm sure that has to exist.
Oh, probably, yeah. There was TV shows about it, so
hunting cryptids and
yeah. Well, I do want to go back to like, so we were there with you guys, and I guess like, you know, again, like skeptic me was like, I was always curious, like what it takes to be the headphone person, like the medium itself. Yeah. Because I was like, you know, and again, I'm not being shitty, but it's like, if you're there, can they hear anything that's in the room? Because if it's not blacked out, like there's influence, right? So that's the only thing that made me feel weird about it. I was like, one day, I don't know, because I'm the shittiest guy to probably do that. Because I've obviously said like I have no feelings. I'm a robot. But I always said like I would like to be that headphone person and just be like, because I think that's something that would melt your mind. Like again, like those are the things I'm looking for. But what does it take to do that? And are you totally blocked out from everything? So you're just saying shit that doesn't relate to like Steve yelling jokes and trying to make ghosts harass Dylan or pull his pants down. I don't know what he was trying to get. You weren't there, Dylan, but he said some nasty shit, and I don't want to repeat it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the times we have people who have never done it before come on an investigation and try it. It's you plug headphones into a spirit box, so basically just scans radio stations really fast, and if you hear like a word or a sentence, it's over multiple radio stations because they all scan at about a quarter of a second. So they put on a blindfold, they put on noise canceling headphones, they hook up to the spirit box, and they just repeat whatever they hear. So it's supposed to remove any human bias, because before that, a lot of people would just listen to a spirit box and they'd say, can you say hello? And then your brain is automatically hardwired to listen to, you know, something that sounds remotely like a hello. Having someone under doing the Estes method, that removes any possible human bias. So if you get something that lines up, it makes it even more valid, I guess.
As long as you have the noise canceling headphones, for sure.
Yeah.
That's mind-blowing. Now that makes the whole experience even crazier. Yeah, that's awesome.
Because she shouldn't be able to hear any of the questions that we're asking. She should just be repeating whatever she hears coming through the device. And if it lines up, great. If not, you're sitting there making no sense for however long you're under.
And that happens a lot, too.
Yeah.
Like we're never ties together.
Yeah. There's times where they're just sitting there saying like, you're like, what's your name? And they're like, blue whale. What's your favorite color? Chicken. It's like stuff that just doesn't make any sense. And that does happen. It's so hard to, we like to do sometimes, like you said, people that have never been on an investigation before, especially somebody that may have never been to the location.
Yeah.
We also did this with Dylan a couple years ago after I scared him a couple times, but taking the bias out even more by, I'm going to blindfold you. I'm going to spin you in 3 circles, and then I'm going to walk you to a room and put you there. You don't know where you are, so you don't have any preconceived notions of what you should be hearing about that location. You know what I mean? Like if I'm sitting in a jail, I am already preconceived looking for things about crime or murder or something, as opposed to like a nursing home where you might hear a grandma's voice or something like that. So if you take out even their sense of like, I don't know where I was when they sat me down, now you're just saying things that you have no idea can line up, because there's 3 or 4 buildings there and they all connect by a hallway. So I could spin him around and walk him down any of these hallways, and he could end up in any building. And if what he's saying is lining up to what we're asking and the location we're in, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just think that like that's something that I would like to try at some point, because I think I have to. Because again, like I as much as this is like for other people, like a lot of it is still like a selfish thing where I'm like, I need a spine tingling experience. That sounds a dumb way to say it, but I need
absolutely.
I need more experiences like that. And and the other ones are like, just do DMT, because that's what we talk to all the time. I'm like, maybe, or let's go with probably. But like, I think I'd like to try. It would be cheating if I didn't try to do things like a little bit more organic. And that's kind of like I was mentioning, like float tanks and the holotropic breathing, and like things that are like not is chemical. So like that, that's one of those, like, I think having experience with that is meaningful. It could be more beneficial than maybe not more beneficial. Let's not give you guys that much credit, but but then taking off on DMT and seeing an entity. But I think they all kind of tie together, and it's just like things to try. So that's why I was curious, because I was like, man, she's saying a lot of things that are just like dead on to what you're saying. I'm like, she has to be able to hear him. I mean, maybe he did.
Yeah, it was, but now that I know that, it's like, whoa.
And that's like the audio of those headphones. It's terrible to listen to. It's literally just radio static, scanning really fast, really loud. So it's absolutely horrendous to listen to. Also.
Yeah, and I, no disrespect. It's just like it's just like. But yeah, that could be part of your guys' shtick. You find the skeptic in the room, like you bearded asshole, like you sit down and we're going to show you what's up. But that makes it way more interesting,
because everybody has that threshold, right? Like you said, you need that spine tingling experience. Everybody has that. They might not know what it is, but there's that experience that will change them to a believer. Our friend Tim started coming to events at the beginning of the year. He didn't believe in paranormal at all. He went because his girlfriend Josie watches the videos, loves the paranormal. She wanted to go. He would just go and kind of stand there. He didn't really buy into it. Super skeptical. I mean, we were in Illinois, and there was a flat beach ball we were in an old haunted hotel, and it was in the emptied out pool in the basement. I put the beach ball on the staircase on the second step. It sat there for 15 minutes. It's flat, so it just sat there. Nobody was moving. People in the pool, people above the pool. 15 minutes it sat there. We're in the pitch black, asking questions. There's probably 15 people in the room. And all of a sudden you just hear this like pop like that, and then you hear another hit, and we turned on the light, and the ball was in the middle of the pool. It didn't bounce down the stairs. It got hit once, and then the second hit was it landing in the pool. It cleared all the stairs. Nobody was there. We turned on the lights. Whoa. Nobody had moved, everything. Tim, the skeptic, says, that's just gravity. I said, horizontal gravity? Like, you can't, it just flew out and went, you know what I mean? So like that, even that to him was like, I was in the dark. How do I know somebody didn't kick it? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, well, nobody's near the stairs, but Jeff doesn't believe in anything. But a couple months later, we're at Pine Lawn Manor, and also in Illinois, and Tim was having experience after experience after experience where it seemed like this little girl ghost liked him. It was like following him around, felt comfortable by him for some reason or whatever, like just kind of stuck around him. And so we went into the hospital bed. We're like, Tim, just sit on the edge of the bed, and we'll put some equipment around you, and we'll see if she gets anything. And it was like, Susie, if this is you, can you turn on the flashlight? Flashlight turns on, turns off. On the count of 3. All right, Susie, if it is you and you like Tim, set off the device that's in the bed next to him. Whole thing went off. And it was like 10, 15 minutes on instant communication. And Tim that night was like, ghosts, man. He's like, that.
Yeah.
I can't, that was it for him. He was like, now he's on TikTok making hundreds of dollars on live streams all the time.
We're doing talking about ghosts and stuff?
Yeah, he goes to all of our events. He goes live and makes money.
Yeah. Are you shitting me? I mean, I'm not trying to profit off you guys.
No,
you do need a podcasting team, we're there.
Yeah. The one medium you have not covered yet. The Nights podcast. Would that work? I don't know. These are good conversations though. No, but I if we definitely do, like, I'll definitely go again, but like I'd like to be a guinea pig for that if I'm there with you guys, because I think I would love that more than anything else. Like I said, it's better than like just doing drugs, though I do enjoy drugs. Not like I used to. I mean, I am a dad, I work, I don't do much anything, but someday. But yeah, no, I would love to do that. So yeah, we'll hang out again, and could be, what you said, your job isn't to convince skeptics or to talk people out of it. Maybe that's what you do. Your side business, you're like, for $9,000 I can make you a believer, and then you just like, but then you have to perform. So then
there's one guy, I don't know his name. He's a billionaire. I think he's a billionaire. Can't remember who it was. I don't know if it's still a thing, but for a while he had a $1 million cash prize to anybody in the world that could, without a doubt, prove the paranormal existed. If you can prove it, he'll give you $1 million. That's his thing.
Well, has he paid anyone?
Yeah.
No.
Still waiting for the check in the mail.
It got lost in the mail, I think.
Well, but I think that's an interesting point though, because like proving it through science and you know, with all the theories that, you know, we've talked about even tonight, like some of which have melted my mind, like that isn't there. But like you said, to actually experience it yourself is really the way to do it, which is, like I said, that's why I came and you know, I feel more, I was open to it before, like I said, started with that Sam Cody, Joe Rogan thing, and then seeing your guys' stuff, coming hang out with you guys, and then seeing it, like even like, you know, what little things Joel and I saw before we got too old to be there. And so yeah, so we'll definitely do it again. I totally want to be a part of that.
Well, if you can't make the November one, I just already confirmed 2 more weekends there next year, so we're going back anyway. So
I can't wait that long. Awesome. I feel like right now it's like I'm so motivated. I've like already like got like other people, like the holotropic stuff and all that kind of lined up for things that I need to do, and like go back to the float tank and do all that stuff. It's just like all healing regardless. So
I would come back. Yeah, for sure.
That'd
be awesome.
Yeah.
But again, it's less of a tourist trap that time because like we were just I mean probably less.
We know our way around now.
Yeah,
I was just way into like the history of it. You know, I don't. Yeah, you get it. Like there's, but even the stories on the way in to understand. You know, it was a TB hospital and like at the school and like that they weren't teaching the kids and then the kids survived because like then they had those dumbass kids. I don't know. It was just interesting. Like the whole thing was really cool. All right, you got anything else you want to ask?
No,
I feel like we kept you.
You guys have been awesome about answering questions.
Regardless if this was a podcast or wasn't a podcast, like I was super stoked to talk to you guys about this because obviously like I had tons of like questions about it, and like it's just it was a super fun time, and like we'll definitely do it again because I think it's kick ass. And like again, you guys are super successful, but we'll share your links anyway and all that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Absolutely, guys. Well, we appreciate you guys having us on. We'll come back on anytime and talk more theory and more
into profit.
Yeah.
I have so many questions that are like even unrelated, where it's just like friendship that we can talk about later.
Absolutely.
That aren't necessarily related to this. But yeah, I had a good time hanging out with you guys. A good time talking to you. So
appreciate you guys so much, man. It's awesome.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, dude. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys.
Yeah.
Bye.